What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Wednesday show, gang. Apologies for keeping you waiting. Couple extra minutes there. Had to jump in and swap out this Red Sox probable starter. I had Brian Bayo, but looks like he threw 3 innings in the early game, so he's not pitching. Looks like it's Cooper Criswell. We'll keep an eye on that spot, but he's the 27th man tonight. Cujo's here. Hump Day show. Hope your hump day is going well too, Cujo. Good to see you, buddy. Wednesday, middle of the week. Big slate to talk about. 10 games up tonight. There's some baseball going on right now. Wimbledon is on right now. It's on my TV over in the corner over here. Just a random match. I have no idea who this is. With the Cheka versus Spallucci? No idea. I love Wimbledon, though. A lot of tradition. Grass court tennis is just kind of cool. So I flicked over to that. But some baseball's going on right now. We're talking about the 10-game main slate on both sites tonight. Some interesting contests out there. We had some success last night. We had a couple winners posted. A couple cashers posted, and then Tall Tale took 5th in one of the DraftKings contests. Took down $275. Not bad. Yamamoto and Gallen on the pitching combo. Had Sal Perez and Royal Stack. Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Garcia, Bobby Witt, the guys you want. Jonathan India's in there. Joe Adell was in there. Like the looks of Joe Adell and some of the Angels tonight. Not to spoil the home run pick yet, necessarily. Or maybe I did. We've got an interesting slate. There's a lot of good matchups. There's some good pitchers. There's some interesting prices on some pitchers. We've also got some veterans or some name brands in some potentially shorter spots than you might otherwise get. You got the pitcher at the top of the board pitching in Coors Field, which you don't typically see. But some big numbers up toward the top. Logan Gilbert, who hasn't been great. Pretty solid projections up toward the top, going up against a KC team that doesn't offer up that much strikeout. I don't love that spot. Hunter Brown in Colorado, tremendous. I actually do like that spot a lot. Kind of believe in that one. Clay Kershaw coming in at a really cheap price for facing the White Sox. Been giving us 5-6 innings. See no reason not to go there. Merrill Kelly's been pitching fairly well, giving up some runs lately. But overall for the season, pitching very well. It wasn't really on my radar how well Merrill Kelly's been pitching. Jacob Misiorowski checks in as the most expensive pitcher on DraftKings, which is a little bit wild. Kid's insanely good, but going up against this Mets team in his, third start? Challenging. Will Warren's very affordable. And then we hit some of these question marks on some depth. But let's get into the run board. Everybody's trickling in. 19 people here. Welcome. Colin Sutherland saying thanks for the Tigers Padres feedback earlier. No sweat, buddy. Happy to help. Just glancing at the board, really. Doug, how are you, buddy? Greg Biancone. Nothing better than knocking off work at 3 p.m. I love that. Monty's getting an early jump, not playing around today. Great call on Salvi was on the mound. He was on most of the pitches he put in play last night. Yeah, he had a big day. He didn't get the home run, but had a big day. So you take it. That's what I was saying the other day. I would love to get the side-by-side over the years of just like, all right, the guy I picked didn't hit the home run, but he had 2 doubles and drove 3 and good as, We get a lot of those. But anyway, you can see fair amount of runs on the board. You've got that juicy total with the Astros kind of standing out, drawing all the attention at 6.79 implied runs at Coors Field. They look pretty tremendous up toward the top. You've also got the Dodgers at 5.81 down in the bottom right corner there facing the White Sox. That is a opener-follower situation. Definitely looks like some upside for the Dodgers bats. But in between, you've got a lot of mid-fours to work with. Starting up at the top, it's the Yankees against the Blue Jays. Kind of a bummer loss yesterday for the Yankees. If you're a Yankees fan, getting wiped out partly on somebody brought it up in the chat yesterday on the catcher's interference from JC Escada. He was taking the blame out in the media, but everybody comes together to make a loss. But right back at it, Will Warren, again, looking pretty good at price, even against a somewhat stingy Blue Jays lineup. He has been good enough for strikeouts that I think you go there. The depth has been touch and go. He has cracked 6 innings and gotten into the 7th a couple times, but a lot of times you're seeing 5 and like a soft 5 and change. So something to keep an eye on there as his price goes up with strikeouts and as he kind of, it gains form in the second half of the season. Also something to watch as far as what the overall pitch count, innings count ends up looking like for him, just as a young pitcher. But definitely a lot of talent there, worth playing. On the Blue Jays side, Jose Barrios pushing a big total toward the Yankees at 4.73 implied runs. They're showing a bunch of power against Barrios. We all know the story with him. I'm not a big fan. You get tattooed a lot of the time, and then he breaks off some pretty good starts. He's had 2 good ones in a row. 7 innings at Boston, faced the Sox, struck out 8, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk. 7 2/3 the start before that. That one was against the White Sox. So you take it or leave it. 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, also shut down. 1 unearned run allowed, on 2 hits. But the start before that, he faced the Phillies. At Philly, gave up 6 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, was pretty bad. Has several bumpy games throughout the season. Overall, he's okay, but he's not that much more than a slightly above average pitcher, maybe. Reds at the Red Sox. I have it as Nick Martinez, and now I have still Bayo in here. It's Cooper Criswell, I believe, as I was just saying before, for the Sox. I don't have his login here. We'll get to it later on. Definitely looking offense in that one. Going to be some funky lineups there, though. Second game of the day for those teams, so we'll have to keep an eye on what the confirmed lineups look like. We've got some of that going on down the board. In the Brewers-Mets game, that's also a second game. We've got Jacob Misiorowski against Blade Tidwell. Misiorowski, very, very good over his first 3 starts. Blade Tidwell, not so good over his first 3 starts. Definitely want to side with Misiorowski there. That said, I do think you could consider some probably low-owned Mets bats against the rookie. Good as he's been, still a rookie, facing a very good Mets lineup with a lot of good players in it, assuming you get at least most of the regulars. On the other side, I don't know how much Blade Tidwell I want. Probably look at some Brewers coming in at a 4.5 implied total. You can see what Misiorowski's doing to the Mets at 4.11. Angels at the Braves. I am showing an absolute ton of power coming up on the Angels side. Dieter Fuentes has given up a couple 3 home runs to a handful of hitters over the 8 1/3 that he's pitched in his 2 starts. There's a lot of power just that he's allowed, a lot of premium contact that he's allowed, and those Angels do hit home runs. There's a lot of power coming from that side, so much so that I was worried about it and how it looked, but we're going with it. Yusei Kikuchi on the mound for Los Angeles. Playable, as always. He's pretty good for depth, 7 in each of his last 2 games. He's been oddly good for keeping runs off the board for a guy who walks as many as he does. That said, in his last 4 starts, he's only walked a total of 4 hitters. One last time out while striking out 12 against the Red Sox. No walks the start before that over 7. He struck out 9 against the Astros. 2 walks against Baltimore, but struck out 10. And then a walk with 5 strikeouts over 7 1/3 against the Athletics. So 3 of his last 4, he's pitched into or beyond the 7th inning. 7 1/3 in that Athletics game. In 3 of those games, he struck out 9 or more, with 2 of them double-digit games. And has allowed a total of 5 earned runs over that stretch. He's been good all season at limiting earned runs. Some of it's been weird, but that's been a very positive stretch for him. And it's kind of him just finding his upside for him. There's a good version of him and a bad version of him. And it's kind of trending toward good version of him for a while. We'll see if he can maintain it. The Braves are pulling a 4.99 implied total against that would suggest he won't. A lot of good right-handed bats to consider, a lot of power in that Braves lineup. We'll definitely look at basically 3 out of 4 corners in that game. Both bats on both sides and probably some Kikuchi. Just fix this spreadsheet here, or Word doc, whatever it is. Tanner Bybee on the mound for the Guardians going up against the Cubs. The pretty rough total of 4.5 runs on the other side. A lot of good bats with some power showing for the Cubbies. Don't really love Bybee, but he is a talented pitcher. You catch him on the right day. Last time out, 7 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, 3 overall on 3 hits against Toronto. Struck out 10 against the Athletics, but gave up 11 hits, 5 earned runs. Weird one there. You can get good, you can get bad out of Bybee. On the Cubs side, and I mostly just try and avoid that Cubs lineup if I can. On the Cubs side, Shohei Managa on the mound, went 5 in his most recent game. That was first time out. He pitched on the 26th, and that was his first start since May 4th. So it was good to have him for 5 innings. He faced 17 hitters. He struck out 3, walked 1, allowed 1 hit. I think you can get him for 5. That's what I gave him back here. 3.61 implied total for the Guardians. If you get beyond 5, so much the better. But I plugged him in at that point. By the way, you can see scrolling across the bottom of the screen, little promo going on through Friday, through July 4th. Promo code sarcastic with a K in the middle where it doesn't belong. Gets you 50% off of a week or a month. If you are a current subscriber and you're coming up on the end of your term this week, you should be able to just kill that one and create a new one. Don't cancel your account. Don't delete your account. Just cancel that specific subscription. Replicate exactly what you have as if it was a new one. And plug in the code. It should work for current subscribers. It should work for new subscribers just as easily. Seen a few new people come in with the code. So again, that's promo code sarcastic with a K in the middle instead of a C. Get you 50% off of a week or a month. Continuing down the board, Tomo Sugano on the bump for the Orioles. Definitely a pitcher we can target with some Rangers bats, even with them scuffling. 4.60 implied total. Pretty solid. And there are some guys who have been maybe finding their form in the longer term over the last month and change. On the other side of that, just under a 4 implied total for the Orioles. They're going up against Nathan Eovaldi, who has been short-started in his 2 outings since returning. Or excuse me, it was just the 1 outing. The other one was back in May 27th. So it was a month. It was 3 innings. 3 earned runs in that last outing through, I have it up right here. He threw 45 pitches, faced 15 hitters. So presumably we get out to like 60 pitches. I might have been a little bit optimistic, giving him 5. I don't think there's very much ceiling here, but I think he could do something around that. Just given the nature of that Baltimore lineup and how good he is. He wasn't sharp in that return. Give up 3 earned runs on 5 hits, struck out 2, walked 2. So maybe we pull him down. Maybe I take another inning away from him and we cut that down to more like a 24, 25 point FanDuel and like 12.5, 13 point DraftKings projection. So it becomes a little bit rougher at these prices. And I really don't think there's much ceiling there, which would be the big alarm bell at those prices. Good as Eovaldi is, I don't think he's turning around and giving us like 7 and an elite game at those prices. So kind of concerning there. Hunter Brown at Colorado. 4.36 implied total on the Colorado side. You can see we're getting a little bit via Vegas and that monster overall total of the 11 runs on the board in that game. But Hunter Brown is really, really good. He's been really sharp basically all season. I see no reason he couldn't come out and just keep this Rockies team off the board, find his usual totals of strikeouts, and have a great game, pay off the big price at the top of the board. He is our highest projected pitcher, even with Coors Field involved. Austin Gomber on the mound, targetable pitcher with the Astros. Bats, enough said. Noah Cameron going for the Royals. Couple of good ones to start out. Had that stretch where he was going 6 plus, just right out of the gate, and then gave up 6 earned runs over 5 2/3 to the Yankees. Followed that with a 5-inning start that was pretty clean against the A's, and then a couple up and down ones. His strikeout totals have been more limited. He's kind of just getting exposed. 5 earned runs over 4 innings against the Dodgers last time out. That said, it was the Yankees and the Dodgers that really put runs on him. So exposed versus talented young kid hitting the wall against very, very good teams, debatable. But the lack of depth recently, the dip in strikeouts, the dip in quality is concerning against the capable enough Mariners team. They're only drawing a 4.04 implied total, though. Maybe we could consider some Cameron at price. On the other side, the Royals just a 3.05 implied total against Logan Gilbert. Gilbert, 5 innings in the first 2 and then 5 1/3 since returning. He's given up runs in each of them, 4 earned runs in each of the last 2 earned runs in the first game back, but struck out 10 Red Sox, 6 Cubs, and 7 Rangers over that stretch. Red Sox were out in Seattle. The other 2 games were at Wrigley and in Texas. So a lot of upside for K's. Easily, believable if nothing else, up toward the top of the board. The one downside is, even when they're bad, that Royals lineup really is pretty effective at limiting strikeout. So we'll see what he can find against them, but I have no issues with playing it. Landon Roop's an interesting wild card. He's really checking down the Diamondbacks' power upside, but they are pulling a very strong implied total. They're a very good sequencing team, so I believe it. Roop's been good at keeping home runs off the board. He misses premium contact by and large, but again, the Diamondbacks are a team as well with a lot of premium contact in it. We saw Josh Naylor scratch yesterday. We'll see if he makes the lineup. He's in the projected. Don't know if he'll be in the confirmed. Merrill Kelly going for the D-backs, as mentioned before. I was surprised when I was just glancing through the numbers before at just how well Merrill Kelly's been pitching all season long. He has given up a few earned runs in his last few starts, but it's 3 earned runs last time out, 2 earned runs the start before that, 4 earned runs over 5 innings to the Padres, and had 2 clean starts against Seattle and Atlanta going back at the beginning of June. Last 2 in May, he gave up 4 earned runs in 2 straight. Prior to that, he had a stretch of like 8 starts, it looks like, where he maxed out at 3 runs. That happened once. 2 runs happened twice, and all the others are 1 earned run. Handful of strikeouts in each one. He's had 1 bad start all season. Came against the Yankees on April 3rd. I think we can forgive him in his second start of the year. 9 earned runs, 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, 3 home runs allowed at Yankee Stadium. In his last 4 games, he struck out exactly 7. That was coming off an 8 strikeout game, then a pair of 6 strikeouts and an 11 strikeout game. Dude has been good. Very playable against the Giants lineup that has K's in it. Brandon Eisert getting the opening spot, and then it's who's it? Sean Burke going up against the Dodgers. Don't think we're considering either one of the White Sox pitchers, and we can definitely consider some Clay Kershaw at a very affordable price against the White Sox. Clay went 6 in the last one, struck out 5. That was against Colorado at Colorado. I can see similar things against a similarly bad team for Clay. Start before that, he went 5, gave up a couple earned, struck out 4, and walked 2. Prior to that, 7 innings in his in his start on the 14th against the Giants. And then the first few were just kind of rounding into form. But the pitch count's gotten up there, the innings, the depth have been there. He's kind of looking sharp. I won't say like the old Clay, but definitely good enough to beat this White Sox team at this kind of price. So I really like the top of the board. There's a lot to work with. Really interested in getting into this one. There are good spots for bats. Monty points out Clay needs 3 strikeouts to reach 3,000 for the career. Not bad. That is a very solid mark as far as like Hall of Fame credentials. Oops. Let's see. Come on. Yeah, so currently sitting 20th, 2,997 strikeouts. Last guy he passed was Zach Greinke, 2,979. Next up is John Smoltz at 3,084. Maybe a shot to catch Smoltz. If he pitches deep and goes and pitches every game the rest of the way, shot to catch Smoltz this year. CC is a big target, 1 spot ahead of Smoltz with 3,093. Kurt Schilling, Bob Gibson, Pedro Martinez, Fergie Jenkins. That's a name. Phil Niekro, Greg Maddux, Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Walter Johnson, Gaylord Perry, Don Sutton, Tom Seaver, Burt Blyleven, Steve Carlton, Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, and then another 900 strikeouts to Nolan Ryan. Sick. Fun list. But yeah, that's a big mark. Yeah, nothing. There's rain in the Northeast again today, but it's cleaner than it was yesterday. To answer that question in the chat, just somebody asking about the weather. Ross got a bunch of green yellows. The most concerning spot for him is game 2 in New York, the Brewers and Mets game. That's the one to probably keep an eye on. But anything basically on the Eastern Seaboard, let's say, because Atlanta's got a little bit of weather too, just keep an eye out. But it seems like everything's a lot better off than it was yesterday. So just to recap some of the pitching, I talked through some of it as we're going through the runs board there. But again, Hunter Brown at Colorado, I see no reason he couldn't dominate, especially 97 feels like a bit of a discount on FanDuel. 10-3, reasonable on DraftKings. He's been more expensive than that, and he's going up against a terrible lineup with tons and tons of strikeouts in it. Those kids do have power in that lineup. They're worth discussing as well on the other side, but he's excellent. Should be able to pitch through the environmental concerns. Gilbert, like I said, bunch of strikeouts in the return, has given up some runs and might do the same again against a low strikeout KC team that could somewhat check his ceiling, but I believe in that projection and could put a nice little number on top of that. Clay just needs 5 to put this up against the White Sox. I believe that's 5 and change if I'm remembering correctly, but 8,500, 8,000 for the form that Clay Kershaw has already been pitching in against this White Sox lineup. I know he's been bad this year, but easily their best, most talented player, Lubov, on the IL, I'll remind. Seems like a lot of upside in Clay Kershaw at those prices. He should be ludicrously popular, especially on DraftKings at 8,000, but on FanDuel too. We've got a shot at quality start here. 6 innings, easy. Kelly, as mentioned, 95-91, feels pretty good going up against the Giants lineup with some Ks in it. They're not safe. He's not safe necessarily. I have a low bar of trust, but definitely playable and projects out pretty well and competitively with everybody else on the board, really. Mizurowski, as I mentioned, at 10-5, that's really challenging. 9-3 on FanDuel is too. I'm not surprised to see it because of how good he's been and how good he is, what the raw talent is. But against this Mets team, that's a really sticky spot. Could easily go south at 10-5 when you've got options like Hunter Brown against the Rockies, when you've got Logan Gilbert, that cheap Clay Kershaw. There's a lot of ways that 3-4 runs against, or just even hits if you're looking at DraftKings, can really ruin your day in a hurry at 10-5. Hasn't been giving up hits, but they're coming. He's not going to be perfect through his career. Will Warren against the Blue Jays looks pretty solid. 78, very inexpensive. I see nothing wrong, honestly, with going double barrel cheap with Clay Kershaw and Will Warren on DraftKings, and probably would do it quite aggressively. I think it's a really, really good combo that you could get number one upside out of on this slate, especially if Hunter Brown goes south at Coors Field. There's an immediate path. Mizurowski at that big price, couple of runs to the Mets. We're off and running with a Will Warren, Clay Kershaw pairing. Warren could get Blue Jayed to death. They limit strikeouts too. They've got a little pop in that lineup. There are some very good names in that lineup, but Warren's got some excellent stuff, very good strikeout stuff that's been working for him. Those are good prices. Evaldi, again, I might pull down by an inning. Keep an eye on that. Does have the upside to get there if he gets 5. I'm a little concerned about what that pitch count looks like. Imanaga, less so in the heart of the lineup, in the heart of the board there, 78-85. Effectively priced very much so on FanDuel. We'll take a look at it. Noah Cameron, I don't fully trust, but he projects pretty similarly, and he's very cheap at 74-76. There are strikeouts in that lineup in Seattle, but there's also a lot of power showing on the board, and they're just a good lineup as far as run creation goes. Bybee, I don't really trust against the Cubs, but could find some upside. And again, very, very cheap pitcher at 81.75. We talked about some of the bumps, some of the strikeouts a minute ago. Kikuchi is interesting at 87.77. Sites kind of don't move his price up the board, really. He's manageable around these prices, and he's been paying them off like crazy. And there are strikeouts in that Braves lineup. There's also a very high danger spot, but he's interesting. Barrios could rip off a good game against this Yankees team. They've been feeding him to bad pitchers all season long, and as much as I don't really like him and think he's kind of mid, Jose Barrios is better than the Kyle Hendrickses of the world, these pitchers that have been smoking the Yankees lately. So, yeah, there's upside, there's ceiling on top of that mid-range kind of a projection. At 83, 82, I do think you could throw some Jose Barrios darts at the Yankees. That said, the Yankees are one of the top few teams on the board today and look pretty great against him. So I'll have some of probably both sides of that equation. Roop is interesting for just potentially checking some of the Diamondbacks' power. I don't know how much I'm getting there, though. He's very cheap on DK as an alternative, drop even further down the board kind of SP2, and he'd probably be the bottom for that. I didn't resort after I added Cooper Criswell. Ignore that missort there. He's obviously not all that appealing. But Roop could get through the Diamondbacks. There's definitely a path for him just limiting runs. He doesn't strike many hitters out, which is where the ceiling is kind of limited. But if several of the other value options don't get there and you're getting cheaper and going in different ways than the field, I could see it. So I wouldn't take him off the board on DK. At 79 on FanDuel, he seems almost entirely unnecessary. Criswell, hard no. Nick Martinez, assuming that's who goes for the Reds, is a no. Tomo Sugano against the Rangers feels pretty rough and doesn't project well. And then we just hit the just absolute don't want him. You've got the opener for Brendan for Chicago down the bottom of the board. Austin Gomber, no. Blake Tidewell doesn't project out well at all against the Brewers and has been pretty rough and short-started in his first few. Burke against the Dodgers as a bulk reliever is a no. And then Dieter Fuentes just pushing all the power in the world toward the Angels. So it's a fairly short cut line. It probably cuts at Landon Root. I don't think you're really throwing mini darts with any of those guys there. So if you take that off the board, it kind of resets the value equation. You don't have any of these, if you're just looking at the colors, you don't have any of these green options outside of Rube, who's barely into that category. So it really, really shortens it up. And again, I really like the idea of pairing those two a lot. I do think it's a day where, honestly, maybe. It actually probably is a day where you could knock some of the top price guys out for a couple lineup builds. If you're building a bunch of lineups like I talk about, build a whole big thing and then sort down from there for the portfolio of entries that you actually put in. Running a few lineup builds with some of those top guys taken off the board, the top price guys, and letting it get a mix of combinations of those mid to low price SP2s is kind of interesting because several of those guys are SP1 quality and could put up enough on a kind of funky pitching slate like this. Let's get into the game by game. Hit the like and subscribe as we get started. We'll probably get all these lineups as we're starting to talk about it. Looks like the Braves are in. Angels is also in. I had the Rockies. Let me add these two while I'm here. Just take a second. They're both going to be important lineups for us. Might as well grab them. How you guys doing out there? Week's going well? DFS season's going well? Somebody brought it up yesterday, but a lot of chatter in the world right now of gambling, DFS, fantasy, poker. Everybody a little bit concerned about these new laws that are getting ramrodded down our throats as far as, and just this one specific thing, because it's relevant, as far as taxing gambling winnings and how that works, what you can deduct and how you can turn a slightly profitable year into a massive loss via taxes. Get taxed for a tax bill that is more than what your profit was. Dicey. Getting ugly out there. Talk to your accountants, call your congressman. Not that it matters. Yeah, let's not get into it, Monty. Just wanted to bring that part of it up specifically, but yeah, a lot of chatter going on out there. Definitely concerning as far as what they're trying to do with that issue specifically. Like I said yesterday, there's a lot of worse shit in the in there too, but let's not get into it. Don't know why I brought it up. Anyway, Ricky Lee's going to Canada, land of tax-free gambling. Another day, another Braves stack to burn my bankroll, says Ricky. Yeah, I actually like the other side of that one a little bit better, I think. But we'll get there. Yankees on the board, 4.73 implied total. It puts them as one of the top teams. I believe they're third on the stacks board. And that's me ranking things out. By Vegas total, they're one of the top teams. They're showing a bunch of power between the three very obvious guys in the heart of the lineup. They've got very good bats up and down in this version of the projected. And depending on who goes in and out, there are very good bats to replace whoever rotates out of the lineup for a day. They've been playing with different combinations of some of these guys. So we'll see what we get, but there's monster upside. They're going up against Jose Barrios, who's got a 3.26 ERA, but a 4.14 xFIP, just a 21.4% strikeout rate with an 8.9% walk, a 1-2-1 whip just gives up too many opportunities for a team like this. It could end up being another one of those nights where the Yankees strand a small village on the base pass and don't score any runs or come away with like 2 runs and 12 guys left on base. And Barrios finishes the game after pitching 6, giving up just 2 and striking out like 8 along the way, but being in trouble the entire time. That's very Yankees, and we've seen it a bunch of times this season. It's also very Jose Barrios. But when he gets got for premium contact, you can change those equations pretty quickly. You can see Stuff Plus doesn't really love the arsenal, a 10.5% barrel rate on a fly ball trajectory, 40+% hard hits, right around our threshold of exit velo. He's very, very gettable. So we're leaning Yankees, but like I said in the rundown, 82, 83, he's value priced. You can absolutely fire some Jose Barrios shots at the Yankees here too. He's definitely on the board. There's just enough strikeout just in his general talent, and he's had a few years of more strikeout. Last year was worse. 2 years ago was better. The year before that was worse. This is what I mean when I say he's generally an average to below average pitcher. He's very much league average by all these numbers if you look. Like that, if you averaged everything on that board, including this year, you would come up with almost exactly league average numbers in like all those categories. It's just who he is. But that means he's going to have some good games. And this Yankees lineup, even this very good version of it, 23.9% strikeout rate. There are Ks here. There are also a bunch of guys who draw walks, 10.8% walks with all but 3 hitters in the double digits. And those guys are at 8.2, 8.5, and 9.1 so far this year. Everybody in this Yankees lineup draws walks. Everybody, for the most part, gets on base. Anthony Volpe. Look at Volpe. He stands out because he's at 306. Everybody else is a nice chunk above 300. And then, obviously. So definitely options up and down on the Yankee side, but he's capable of exploiting their weakness as much as they're capable of exploiting his weakness. Enough said about Jose Barrios, who I don't really like. Will Warren, I like quite a bit. So much so that I traded him at EMAC in that Matt Olson and Seiya Suzuki deal that we made. Willie comes in with a 4.37 ERA, but a sparkling 3.14 xFIP. He's lost a few too many on walks, but rookie pitcher just finding his form. 10.1% walks against the 29.6% strikeout rate. All right, so what? The downside is he's a right-handed Robbie Ray right now. I'll take it from a first-year starter. 80 and a third, pretty good innings. 10.6% swinging, a 30.7% CSW. Has more to find on that swinging strike rate, I guarantee you. He's given up a little bit too much premium contact for my tastes. 91.1 miles an hour of exit velo, 47.1% hard hit rate, most notably. 8.2% barrels, just a 12.8 degree average launch. Barrels and launch are manageable. Hard hits exit velo, not so much, but it's only resulted in a 1.72 home run rate. That's a little bit lucky so far. Got to at least consider that. So some of these hard-hitting Blue Jays, he puts a couple of these guys on base via the walk, and they've got some guys that can draw walks. They're very low strikeout. So it's a challenging spot for Warren, but he's very value-priced, especially at 78 on DK. Love that price. Like the idea of combining with Kershaw, like I was saying. At 88 on FanDuel, I really do need my quality start, or I need those top-end options to kind of go bust. So it comes down to that, but he's capable of paying that off and belongs in your lineup building process. He belongs in some lineups that you enter. Depending on what his popularity looks like, let's give it a quick look. Which of these tabs can I use? I can use that one. Actually, I can use any of these. I'm done with all that stuff. Let's see what Willie's looking like on FanDuel. That's going to matter. Oh, he's not popular at all. 2 guys on FanDuel taking up about 50% of the ownership. And if you were just looking at our pitching board, you would know who it is. They're the 2 guys up toward the top. Everybody else on the board, pitching-wise on FanDuel, single-digit ownership. That's really interesting. Might not break exactly that way, but those 2 at the top are probably going to be your most highly owned. And then DraftKings, let's see. Wow. Yeah, Will Warren just into the double digits in their projections on DK at 78. I think there's a little bit more to work with at that price. I don't mind that. Kershaw about double what Warren is, but short of the other two guys. He's your third most highly projected on DraftKings. I missed what Kershaw was on FanDuel, but he wasn't one of those top two guys. So that's also really interesting. There's no way. They've got him Clayton Kershaw on the FanDuel projection. On DraftKings, they've got him at a believable number. I think it's low, but it's at least believable. On FanDuel, they've got him sub 3% for 8,500 against the White Sox. I think just naturally he's going to get double that. I would have had him like third. I would have had him at least where they've got Noah Cameron, which is third at just under double digits. That's wild. I do not think that's correct. Will Warren at very low ownership, I could buy. Yanks bats, Paul Goldschmidt up at the top, fairly affordable at 4,000 on DraftKings, 27 on FanDuel. The numbers have cooled somewhat. He's at 284, 347, 425 for this season. 8 home runs, 5 steals. Still a very solid 117 WRC plus. Still looking like a strong option over a half of a season. Solid hard hit and barrel rates, which have normalized. Very low strikeout, medium walk rate. Strikeouts might continue to push up a little bit over the second half of the season. Something to watch with this player, but in the leadoff role or in the middle of the lineup here, Paul Goldschmidt's just a very, very solid veteran bat to buy at those prices in the heart of this lineup with everybody getting on base around him. There's just tons of opportunity. Cody Bellinger, 45-33, very solid season out of Cody. He's hitting the ball harder consistently than he did the last 2 seasons while keeping his strikeout and his walk rates right around the same spectacular levels they typically are. He's also not expensive at those prices. Dozen home runs, 8 stolen bases, a 120 WRC plus, a 193 ISO on the season. Lefty bat in a righty-lefty, very solid configuration the Yanks have rolling here in this projected lineup. Love the upside for him. Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge. You just play him. 30 home runs so far this season. Creating runs, for those keeping track, 122% better than average via WRC plus, which is very, very good. Jazz Chisholm at 51, second base and third base on DraftKings. Same positioning at 3,800 on FanDuel. Very valuable to flip back and forth. He fills either spot very, very well. So it depends on what you stack the Yankees with. But it's nice having Jazz with that ability to flip to second base if you want a big third baseman from another team. So love that option. Monster barrel rate out of Jazz, 14 home runs, 10 steals. Missed some games along the way, only 229 plate appearances. It's been very good. 255 ISO, a 134 WRC plus, 364 XWOBA, but tells us there's a little bit more maybe to give. Giancarlo Stanton hasn't been great since coming back. The swing has been fast and aggressive, and he's hit the ball very hard. 50% hard hit rate, just a 3.8% barrel so far. High strikeout, but high walk rate so far, and the strikeouts in line with expectation. Walks a little above so far. Yet to homer, yet to really do very much of anything interesting. 244, 340, 268. He has gotten on base a little bit, but 18 points below average for run creation so far. Just a .024 ISO, pretty uncharacteristic after 47 plate appearances. First home run's coming in, and he's going to go on a tear, 10.05 in the home run model. He is cheap for the upside, 3,300, 2,800. 2 home run day, always in the cards for Giancarlo Stanton. Ben Rice, 4,200, 3,200, especially with that catcher eligibility on DraftKings now. Gotta love that. Fairly affordable. Not a bad price on either site, really. 16.4% barrels and 53.6% hard hits. He's cooled in the triple slash, 229, 324, 471. Not walking quite as much as he did last year, but still a very strong 9.1% walk. And he's got strikeouts down at 21.4%. So he's made marked improvements over last year as just an overall hitter while delivering in the power department. He oddly hasn't driven in that many runs, which is just a weird outlier. Just can't matter of who's on base. He's been the leadoff hitter in a lot of spots. But 14 home runs, 29 runs batted in is a little bit of a weird combination. But very, very effective player. 242 ISO on the season and a monster 413 XWOBA lurking under the covers. Anthony Volpe at 41-28, playable. 9 home runs, 9 steals, a lot of doubles along the way, right at league average. He's just okay. Too many strikeouts, but he's drawing walks this year, hitting the ball fairly hard. Jason Dominguez, better than a mix and match play from the bottom of the lineup. He's going to be lower owned than everybody. Very affordable. Same deal with DJ LeMahieu. Either one of those guys can absolutely give you quality in a Yankee stack. Dominguez over 268 chances, slashing 253, 336, 386. That's not nothing. The power hasn't really been there this year. 6 home runs is a little bit light. The 133 ISO is even lighter. He has stolen 12 bags, getting on at a good clip, creating runs 6% better than average via WRC plus, and hitting the ball, interestingly, pretty squarely. So I believe the power is coming. I believe there are more doubles and home runs coming. So he's just very affordable at the bottom of the lineup here. And then DJ is also squaring the ball up pretty well. 51.2% hard hit over his 129, slashing 250, 326, 328. The run creation hasn't been great. The power output hasn't been great, but he's getting involved. He's putting the ball in play effectively, and he's drawing walks from the bottom of the lineup. So for our purposes, 2,300 at second base rounds out a Yankees stack pretty effectively. 3,000 at second base, same thing. On the Blue Jays side, definitely, we got this lineup in. Beautiful. Sometimes ranting and raving for 10 minutes about each team pays off. So we do have upside. We have some guys. Ooh, that lineup changed a little bit down bottom. We have guys who have been playing well in recent stretches. Addison Barger just having a very good season overall. Ernie Clement has had a very solid stretch as far as run creation goes. Hitting for average, putting the ball in play, getting on base. Couple of stars up top. George Springer coming off a big day, holding down a pretty good slash line for the season. Solid 140 WRC plus to lead the team. Vladdy, still a superstar. A little bit short on the output given what his contact numbers are, but still excellent. So it's a very threatening lineup. I just slightly prefer Will Warren given the pricing and what the ceiling for him looks like. But it's a challenging spot, and that entire lineup, 17.9% strikeout this year, 16.3 last year, a 9.7% walk rate. So I said it about the Yanks and Barrios, and I'll say it for the other way too. These guys just as capable of exploiting his weaknesses as he is of their, or as these guys are of Jose Barrios, honestly, is the right way to say that. Andres Jimenez in the leadoff role, not entirely ideal. I wouldn't necessarily throw him into that mix, outside of the fact that he is low strikeout, demonstrably so over the last few seasons, mid-teens strikeout rates. That's the only thing he's doing well. Sub 300 on base, 10 steals, a 108 ISO, a 75 WRC plus. Just kind of in the mix because he's there, but not really a key piece. Springer at 47-32, very affordable for a guy with 13 home runs, a 14.5% barrel, 216 ISO, and that 140 WRC plus that I mentioned, not to mention the 392 xWOB under the covers. Suggests we could see improvement on that slash line. We could see a little bit more power output. Vladdy at 55-34, slightly less expensive relative on FanDuel, I feel like, but very affordable on both sites, especially considering a 14.3% barrel for him, 53.6% hard hits, strikeouts that are almost an exact match to last year, it's lower than the year before, walks that are improved over both those years. Vladdy's doing interesting things out there. 12 home runs, just a 169 ISO, not paying off that contact in full, but that just means there's more to come. Not like he gets to replace those home runs that he didn't hit, but it means he's been hitting the ball all along and just finding bad luck. Eventually, we're going to see the upside of that coin. You go there at these prices. 134 WRC plus in spite of some struggles. A 414 xWOBA if you don't believe me. Alejandro Kirk hitting the ball extremely hard, especially for a catcher where you have to play the position who only costs $4,000 on DraftKings. 9.6% barrel, 55.7% hard hit. 306, 355, 424, 7 home runs. It's the best stretch of Alejandro Kirk's life. 279 very good plate appearances. You're not being taxed for the performance so far. Take advantage. He's just good right now. Addison Barger, again, very strong season. 9 home runs and 224 chances. Hitting the ball extremely hard with frequency. Strikes out a little bit. Doesn't walk as much as some of the other guys in this lineup. But he's been excellent, and he's very affordable. Fits into the outfield, but can also easily fill that third base role. 3,900, 28 on FanDuel. Definitely interested. I mentioned Clement as a guy who's been very, very good recently at just run creation. He's up to a 115 WRC plus over 298 chances on the season. Since the start of June, so essentially the last month, Ernie Clement, 350, 398, 447, a 140 WRC plus. He's only driven in 7. He's not really known for his bat. He's not a big power bat, but he's putting the ball in play like crazy. He struck out 5.3% of the time, walked at 8.8%, scored 21 of his runs in the last month. He's been really, really good as a table setter. That's who should be in the leadoff spot, idiots. Come on, Toronto. They just didn't want to run a big stretch of righties out of the leadoff spot against a righty. I get it, but there's different ways you could have done that. Ernie Clement probably should be hitting leadoff right now. Anyway, very solid option. 4 positions on FanDuel. You want him at probably second base as usual, but middle infield, shortstop is fine, I guess. On the corners, you don't really get the power upside that you do from a lot of other corner infield options. So just kind of consider how your Blue Jays stacks fall if you take the time to consider individual lineups that way. If not, big portfolio lineups, you take them where you get them. Will Wagner, Davis Schneider, Miles Straw to pick up a little bit of time. Mix and match options at the absolute best. Over 67 plate appearances, Davis Schneider does have a 106 WRC plus, 1 home run. Pretty weak slash line, but has gotten on base via the 17.9% walk rate so far. Has connected with baseballs in the past as well. Pretty capable of barreling the odd ball here and there. Fits in for a cheap price at second. Probably my favorite option out of those 3 at the bottom. All 3 guys are entirely skippable. They're very, very cheap. Help you average down some pricing. Yankees bats, slight preference for Will Warren over the Blue Jays bats, which would be 3rd, and Jose Berrios would be 4th. Reds and the Red Sox. All right, this is a second game of the day. We will see what the lineups look like. Leb still has Brian Bayo listed, but again, he pitched 3 innings this afternoon, so that ain't happening. There's the Yankees lineup. And it's a little bit different. Same hitters, different order. Just real quick. Here's the Yanks. You got Ben Rice in the leadoff. Goldie drops to 6. Dominguez in 7. DJ Volpe. So slightly different order. Same upside. A little bit of increased home run number on Ben Rice there. Judge in the 2 spot where he belongs. Monster opportunity for the Yankees. Speaking of opportunity, the Reds coming in at a 4.63 implied total going up against the Red Sox, 5.09 implied total. Sox are going up against Nick Martinez, who low strikeout, low walk over 94 innings. Hasn't really been bad at a 4.12 ERA, a 4.33 xFIP. There's no real reason to play him for DFS purposes. 7,072, maybe a few just spot filler shares as an SP2 on DraftKings is fine. On FanDuel, I really wouldn't consider it that much, especially with the Sox drawing a 5+ implied total. It's just kind of writing on the wall kind of situation. 8.7% swinging strikes, 26.2% CSW. Even with a tidy strikeout to walk, it's not all that appealing. So wouldn't consider that too much. Did go 8 in his last start. I will throw that into the mix. That was against the Pods. So a pretty good team to do that against. Struck out 6, walked 2, gave up 1 earned run on 1 hit to 27 Padres. If you get that performance, congratulations. You win the Nick Martinez lottery again. Prior to that, a couple bulk relief appearances, a 2 2/3 start where he got absolutely obliterated by the Twins for 7 runs, give up 4 runs in 5 innings to the Tigers in a start. Been bad. I don't think you need to go there. Cooper Criswell, 6,400, 6,300. I don't have the game log in front of me, so I'm not going to go through that because it's only 9 innings of relief work anyway. A 6.0 ERA with a, say, 5.48 xFIP, a sub 10% strikeout rate. These numbers being sub 10% threw me off a little bit. 5.6% swinging strike rate at 21.6% CSW in that tiny sample. Last year, made 18 starts, 99 and a third, pitched to a 4.08 ERA, was moderately capable, had league average stuff that in his relief work, short stints of relief work, measures out a little bit better so far this year, but was very low strikeout, medium walk, challenging on the xFIP, the whip, the lack of swinging strikes. There's really no reason to consider Cooper Criswell even at price, and I don't even know what the innings are going to look like tonight. So I wouldn't ride with that. The guys this afternoon pitched like 3 innings, so I don't think you're going there. Reds bats in consideration for sure. TJ Friedl at 42.28 has become a little bit more affordable and correctly priced, I feel like, in recent days, maybe the last week or so. 283, 372, 415 on the year, a 118 WRC plus. Gets on base, sets the table for Matt McClain, Ellie De La Cruz with their power upside, Austin Hayes with his like mid-range power, his doubles power, and his ability to get on base and drive the ball a little bit is an interesting option in the 4 spot. So the top of the Reds plays pretty well. Everybody projects out decently with the 3 guys you would expect carrying fair home run numbers. After that, we take a little bit of a dip, but there are interesting bats the rest of the way down with the Reds, and they're all very affordable. So it's an easy team to stack with. It's an easy team to draw small stacks, secondary stacks of 2 guys on DK, of 3 guys on FanDuel, and use some of those cheap bats in conjunction with one another, depending again on what we get in this second game. But Gavin Lux at 32.25, not a power bat by any means, but he's slashing 270, 357, 389. A 108 WRC plus. He's been involved. He's creating runs. He's very cheap. You can easily fill out a lineup with Gavin Lux. You can put him in conjunction with an underperforming Spencer Steer, who is still on the board, has some power upside. Tyler Stevenson, who gives you major upside for power. 13.1% barrels, 51.5% hard hits. Did Stevenson play the early game? Where is this game? Is it not on any slate? Where is this? Why can't I find this box score? Am I losing my mind? Again? There it is. He did not. So we probably get him. All that was to find out is Tyler Stevenson played in the afternoon game. So there's upside there at 3,700. There's a lot of power in that catcher bat at 28 on FanDuel with no clear-cut first base option, with the other first base option that you would probably want also having third base eligibility. There's plenty of upside in including Tyler Stevenson on the blue side too. 6 home runs so far this year, kind of defying the premium contact that he's made in the 188 plate appearances. The 171 ISO is adequate, but not really good. Last year, 19 homers, a 186 ISO on lesser contact. So there's a lot of clear upside. Will Benson has power from the left side as much as anybody. Major home run territory there, but only a 4.98 in the home run model coming up against Criswell. You get the good in with the bad with a player like Will Benson. There's a lot of zeros. There's also a lot of big days along the way. He has been mashing baseballs. 6 home runs on the board, a 198 ISO in 138 plate appearances. Christian Encarnacion Strand, again, first base and third base eligibility at a cheap price, the ability to square the ball up pretty effectively, 5 home runs in 126 chances, just a 160 ISO, just a 281 xFIP, and a 54 WRC plus. There's a lot not to like about Encarnacion Strand, but at those prices, I'll let somebody else worry about some of those numbers. If I'm already taking shots on the bottom of the Reds lineup, let me grab that for a cheap kind of a stack. Again, you could realistically 5-man it if you wanted to and just play the bottom for a very, very cheap price. But I'd be probably more looking again for, 2-3 guys from down here. And, those 3, again, not to direct toward the bottom 3 hitters in any given lineup, but those are 3 guys who could easily be hitting up here. And they cost a average of 3,700, a total of 11-1 with power upside from all 3 players against a nothing pitcher. On the Red Sox side, Jarren Duran, 45-33. If he's in the lineup, you're always going to Jarren Duran when you're playing Red Sox. The talent will eventually win out here. I really do believe that. I believe we'll see more of his extra base hit ability, more results come through, given the way that he hits the ball. 9.4% barrels, 46.1% hard hits. They got to fall in a little bit more than they have been. Roman Anthony hasn't been great over his 75 chances, but we got to give him a minute to get his feet on the ground. What he has done is hit the ball pretty squarely in some batted ball events. 13.3% barrels, 46.7% hard hits. The results are coming. 1 home run on the board so far, just a 96 WRC plus, but he's not at all expensive. 39.26. Enjoy that while it lasts. Those are going up. Abraham Toro, 2,800 across sites, first and third on DraftKings. Add second base to that on FanDuel. Very solid 155 plate appearances. He's had stretches where he's been an effective fantasy player over time. He's mostly a mix and match guy. If he's up there in the lineup, you can always go there, and he's not offensively priced at all for the production already, so no tax on it. If you're down here, it's not great. Carlos Narvaez at 36-28, 7 home runs on the board, a very solid 252 opportunities out of him so far, 124 WRC plus, just a 315 xWOBA, but making excellent contact, continuing to pay it off when he's in the lineup, an interesting bat for them. Willie Abreu, monster barrels, hard hits, 16 home runs on the board, a 239 ISO, a 120 WRC plus, continues to be their most established bat and their most interesting bat outside of how cheap Roman Anthony is for his talent. Marcelo Mayer is also very affordable given the 10.7% barrels, the 57% hard hit rate over 90 plate appearances. 4 home runs already on the board, 217 ISO. Other than that, it's been kind of ugly. Striking out too much, not walking enough, bad slash line, 87 WRC plus, but the kid can definitely mash. At those prices, at second base, that's really interesting. Third base on DraftKings also eligible. Shortstop on FanDuel, why not? David Hamilton steals a lot of bases for a cheap price. That's about all he does. Doesn't even really create runs. 33 WRC plus so far. Cedric Rafaela hitting the ball very hard. He's also a negative run creator, 96 WRC plus, or below average run creator, I should say. 9 home runs, 11 steals, and all that premium contact. I'm still a buyer if I'm just looking for another cheap bat to round out a Red Sox stack. He also has 3 position eligibility on FanDuel, so there's upside there for sure. Definitely interested in some Red Sox bats. You can see all the double-digit barrel rates for these guys in a variety of sample sizes. A lot of guys who are coming up with good hard hit rates. I skipped over Trevor Story in the middle of the lineup there, and I didn't mean to. Differently priced across sites. 33 for Story on FanDuel is very fair. 37 on DraftKings is a bargain. I've talked about this throughout the season. Maybe the slash line isn't good. The 298 xWOB isn't nearly where we want it and says that maybe some of it's a little bit of an illusion, but it also just kind of backs up where the slash line is. If we take that out of the equation and we're just looking at some of these counting stats and just looking at where our DFS points largely come from, maybe he's not reliable, but he's still certainly capable, and he's priced like he's not capable. So take advantage. Dozen home runs, 13 steals on the season, just a 142 ISO. Again, reflective of the unreliability, but hits the ball extremely hard still when he happens to make contact. 29.7% strikeouts against 4.7% walks is atrocious. Red Sox bats, Reds bats. Neither pitcher. Is it Bernardino now opening for the Sox? How about that? No Braves today for Lone Wolf. Yeah, let's not let's not get into it. I know that comment was from a little while ago. I was the one that brought up the tax issue just because it's going on so much. It's so prevalent on the Twitter feed right now with all the variety of over the years. I've got a collection of DFS people, gambling people, poker people. It's quite the collection of people who are up in arms about this potential tax issue. But yeah, let's not dig into the who, what, when, why, who used to, who will do, and so forth of it. Obviously, not a lot of goods going on right now. Do we get raked back if we lose money? Glad it's happening during World Series of Poker. Yeah, as somebody pointed out, could be the last World Series of Poker as we know it. Could be the last one that stands in this country. We'll see. Might take it on the road for a while. Oh, the White Sox. Yeah, the White Sox have a bullpen game. It's Burke in bulk relief. I gave him 3.5, 4. I forget what I gave him, but I gave him a limited number of innings, and I gave the opener 1 and change. Brewers and the Mets. Very high price, Mizurowski. Most expensive DraftKings pitcher, $9,300 on FanDuel is a pretty penny. Comes in with 3 starts in his pocket with a 1.13 ERA, a 3.22 xFIP, 33.9% strikeout rate on 13.3% swinging strikes, a spectacular, unbelievable, and will not be sustained 0.63 whip. Despite a 12.5% walk rate. That's because he has not been allowing hits. He has blow you away stuff. Dude throws 103 miles an hour, 104 regularly. He can break that out 15, 20 times a game. In his 3 starts at the major league level, he has given up 3 hits to 56 hitters, 2 earned runs, including a home run that came in the second game. Strikeout totals of 8 in the most recent one against the Pirates, 6 prior to that against the Twins, and 5 in his debut against the Cards, which was 5 shutout, no-hit innings. Faced 18 Cardinals, sent them all back to the bench. 5 strikeout, or not all of them because he walked 4. He wasn't perfect, but he was rolling with a no-hitter. Was celebrating and bouncing backward toward the mound in that game, turned his ankle and came out. We will never know what that might have turned into, but point being, he is very, very good so far at limiting hits. It is not sustainable. This Mets lineup does have a little bit of strikeout through some of the weaker points down toward the bottom, but up toward the top, the hitters who matter, very low strikeout and spectacular. So this could be a day that kind of normalizes Mizurowski's numbers over 4 starts for a rookie. But there's no reason really to believe that he couldn't at least keep up the strikeouts. Maybe some runs happen, and that's where you hit the skids with that price. But the kid is very real. His talent is undeniable. He is very, very, very good, and you can play him at those prices. He's not off the board despite the price tag. Major strikeout monster. Somebody was saying, what do you get when you combine Jacob deGrom and Randy Johnson? And the answer is Jacob Mizurowski. He's just like that big, tall, ridiculous flamethrower. He's going to be really good for a while. This Brewers team's got some interesting pitching. They got Woodruff coming back this weekend. They've got Quinn Priester pitching best stretch of his life in the majors. Really interesting. A couple other names too. Not to mention, Freddie, so forth. Anyway, on the Mets side, Blade Tidwell has not been nearly as good. 3 1/3, 3 2/3, 3 2/3 over his 3 starts. Give up 4 earned runs, 2 earned runs, and 6 earned runs to the Pirates, the Phillies, and the Cards. All on the road. First home start for the kid. I guess that's a bump. Looking down through the minor league numbers, was pretty effective. In AAA this year, had a 27.7% strikeout rate, 9.5% walks. In the minors last year, 22.6% and 12% walks. That was over 22 starts, 122 1/3. So greatly improved at the AAA level this year as a 24-year-old. He's right on time, just finding his form, just finding his footing. 5,000, 6,700. I don't think there's any reason in the world to play him against a effective enough Brewers lineup. Even at those prices, You're just throwing darts. I think he maxes out at 5 innings without a lot of visible ceiling. And why don't we wait a minute? You can see that Stuff Plus loves the Arsenal, right? If you want to answer back with why don't we wait a minute, you could easily say, because dummy, that's a terrific mark by Stuff Plus. And this is a kid who could break off a low-owned, very low-cost start here and find some success against the team with a 21.9% strikeout rate for this projected lineup. Fine, Strawman. I accept your argument. I still don't think you need to go there because it's a deep enough, weird pitching slate with a lot of mid-range options that are all very low-owned. So I really don't think you need to play that game with Tidwell, the guy who has really not shown us very much at all at the major league level so far. He's missed some premium contact. You can give him that much, but he's allowed home runs in that mix. Just 9.2% swinging, 27.9% CSW, despite that good Stuff Plus rating. A 6.50 xFIP if you need a little more. Difficult to justify. On the Brewers side, mid-4s implied total, definitely something you can consider. 43.32, reasonably priced Sal Frelick at the top of this projected lineup. So we got the confirmed. Where the hell did this game go? Why do we only have the second game on here now? Oh, this is so annoying. All right, we don't have this. We only have the first game on there now. Oh, is Brazoban opening for the Mets now? I love this shit. Yes, Larry, I'm debating myself. I'm setting up Strawman. All right, so apparently it's going to be Huascar Brazoban, relief pitcher, opening this one for the Mets. Won't be more than an inning, but he is good. Yeah, Blade Tidwell still expected to get the bulk of the innings, but that's going to lower his even already low projection. So yet another one to handle post-show, but no reason in the world to play Tidwell. Brewers bats, as I was saying, depending on what we get in the lineup, Sal Frelick, affordable in the top spot. Solid table setter, 359 on base, a 117 WRC plus. Find some stolen base bonuses, as do a lot of guys in this lineup. That's a pretty solid group of 4 guys with mid-range stolen base totals between Frelick, Bryce Turang, and then Jackson Chourio and Christian Yelich, who are just star caliber and fairly obvious if you're going to this team already. Both of those guys, mid-teens totals for home runs as well. 13 for Chourio, 16 so far for Yelich, and which is what is turning into a pretty effective Christian Yelich season. 7.9% barrels, 48.4% hard hits, right exactly where we expect them. Strikeouts are still a little bit high, but 262, 337, 457, a 121 WRC plus. Solid ISO. There's nothing wrong with what's going on with Christian Yelich right now. He's effectively priced for those numbers, I would say. 53.36. It's about right. Chourio at 48.35, 13 homers, 15 steals. I still feel like that FanDuel price is a little bit high for this version of Chourio. He needs to get back on form. 101 WRC plus. We expect more from a player like this, especially if you're going to price him like that. But if you're going to this team, he belongs in your lineups. Rhys Hoskins at 39.29, definitely an interesting first base option. 3 true outcomes type hitter, undeniably. 12 home runs, a 180 ISO, a 111 WRC plus. Needs to find the power stroke again, but a very solid 10.9% barrel, 45.1% hard hit. Everybody up toward the top is capable. We hit this stretch with Bryce Turang in here, who's a table resetter type, 17 steals, a 361 on base, a 112 WRC plus. And then we get into Caleb Durbin, who's giving you an effective average, a little bit of on base, but not much more. Isaac Collins, kind of the same thing. 358 on base is very good, but where's it going? It's going into Joey Ortiz, Eric Haas down the bottom of the lineup. So bottom 4 for this team has some issues, both from the baseball sense and from a DFS perspective. It's a little bit weak down there. If you're building a bunch of Brewers stacks to attack Blade Tidwell and the Mets bullpen, so be it. Mets have a very good bullpen, by the way. You've got a lot of cheap pieces to work with there and some multi-position on those guys. So you do rotate through at least like one of those guys in stacks, but they're really not that interesting. More interesting bats down lineup in the Mets lineup, I would say. You got Mark Vientos, you've got Brett Beatty in this projected, Ronnie Mauricio. For as kind of meh as Ronnie Mauricio has been, the talent is kind of interesting. He fits in at multiple positions for a cheap price. I think he's a little bit better than the Ortizes of the world. Hayden Sanger is a nothing entity. You can see that's, I think, the lowest projection of the entire season on Hayden Sanger for a hitter. So cue his 2 home run day. But nothing to speak of in the minors so far at the major league level. There's just not much there as far as the bat goes, just a backup catcher. At the top of the Mets, it's very obvious around Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, and Pete Alonso. All those guys are effectively priced, let's say. Lindor maybe a little cheap for 35 on FanDuel. Slight discount on his talent. Alonso at 5,000 on DraftKings, maybe a slight discount from where he ought to be. All 3 of those guys belong in the vast majority of your Mets stacks. They're tremendous options. Peaking with Soto now at 20 home runs. Pete's got 18. Lindor's got 16 with 13 steals. Everybody's got solid WRC plus numbers. And then I'm going to keep harping on Brandon Nimmo. Very affordable, right in the heart of that mix. 4,000, 3,100. 15 home runs. A 255, 316, 455 slash line that's becoming more and more reminiscent of the old Brandon Nimmo. A 199 ISO. Creating runs 17% better than average VWRC plus. Strikeouts are down about 5 percentage points at 18.7 year over year. Walks are down too, but that just means we're getting a lot of this premium contact. 9.9% barrels, 51.2% hard hits, and the dude only costs 4,000 in your outfield. 31 on FanDuel, slightly higher relatively, but not much. That is a really strong option for maintaining quality while averaging down the top part of that lineup. In the heart of the batting order, Jeff McNeil continues to just be a slap hitter. You take the good with the bad as far as those BABIP-focused guys. He can get on base, 340 on base. He can help create runs. It's just not an ideal bat to find in the middle of the lineup unless you are including another guy from down here, like Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, who might effectively drive him in. Beatty, very solid barrels and hard hits for the cheap price with second base eligibility on both sites. Hasn't seen a ton of productivity for that kind of contact, but 209 plate appearances, 8 homers, a 181 ISO is also not entirely nothing. So there are definitely options up and down the Mets, despite that 4.11 implied total, despite the presence of Misiorowski on the mound. They're in play. And if they're going to come up really low owned because Misiorowski's there, I'm kind of interested. I love the kid. He's on the dynasty team, right? So I love Misiorowski. Don't misread what I'm saying. But like, come on. Why? Why does nothing work when I need it to? It's a click I make 500 times a day. Taking something off so I can see the rest. It's so annoying. And now I have to reload it anyway because the ownership wasn't there. Two of the 3 stars slated for double-digit ownership in these projections, and nobody else above even halfway through the single digits. Ridiculous. These Mets are going to be low owned. That's an interesting spot. As we talk about a lot, if I can get contrarian with a good lineup, even if it's against a good pitcher, in my shares where I'm just specifically saying, hey, let me get contrarian with this lineup, let me use that to my advantage. And the Mets are easily one of those teams today. Interesting spot. Don't want to oversell it, but again, 4+ implied total in spite of how good Mizio is. And if you can target a fair share of the field with that, and while they're rostering a pitcher at that kind of a price, and you have the bats that end up getting to him, that works. But again, he's excellent. Brewers bats. Misiorowski, just because of how he's priced relative to everybody else, falls in behind the bats. And then Mets bats after that, and no part of the Mets pitching. I told you the Angels were showing monster power numbers today. 10.96 average for the full lineup. They're going up against Dieter Fuentes, who comes in over his 2 starts, his 8 1/3 inning so far with a 7.5% home run rate. As I mentioned, that's 3 home runs in the show so far. But more to the point, he's given up an 11.8% barrel rate in the batted ball events he's allowed so far. 52.9% hard hits, 93 miles an hour of exit velo on average. He does have good stuff. 109 rating, nearly 110 by stuff plus is not nothing, but it's all coming on a fly ball trajectory when it goes out the other way. So he just not on form. He had some good numbers in the minor leagues. Maybe somebody to watch as far as maybe he finds it or if we can catch him the right day against a bad team. But I don't think this Angels team is that bad team, and not with that power that they're showing. They do have a lot of strikeouts in the lineup. He has not found strikeout form yet. 10% strikeout rate on 8.1% swinging, 21.1% CSW. The stuff plus mark would suggest that some strikeouts will eventually get here. So with the minor league numbers, and he hasn't really walked anybody if you're looking for any kind of positive attributes. But this seems like a spot where we can definitely attack with some Angels bats. 4.61 implied total helps as far as that goes. On the other side, Kikuchi. Talked about him at the top. He's been terrific in his last few outings. This is who he is. You're going to have, 10, as the old baseball axiom goes, you're going to have 10 excellent starts. You're going to have 10 bad starts. And who you are in those middle starts is what your year looks like, right? That is the definition of Yusei Kikuchi. Most of the time he walks too many, but still finds strikeouts and manages to dance his way through trouble. And you can see that right here. 10.7% walk rate. A 1.37 whip. That's way too many guys on base. Way too many opportunities overall. 24.1% strikeout is a very solid strikeout rate overall. It's not spectacular, but it's a bit above average and very good. Comes on 10.4% swinging, but just a 27.3% CSW that ought to be higher against just that swinging strike rate alone. Has a 4.10 xFIP that is the real number. He should be a 4 and change run pitcher every time. But his ERA is 2.79 because, again, he just finds ways to get through this trouble and leave guys on base. Unsustainable. But that's who he's always been. Typically, you get the higher ERA, will win out in the end by the time we get to 30 and change starts. It probably will. But the strikeouts are real. The talent is real. The any given slate upside is real. And he only costs 7,700 against a Braves team that, good as they are, as much power as they have, and as many good righties as they have, does come in with a 23.2% strikeout rate. It is a team that for sure can exploit his downsides, and you should absolutely be hedging with some Brave stacks if you take any kind of real position on Kikuchi. But he is extremely, extremely playable. 87 on FanDuel, extremely playable. 96 and 2/3 in 17 starts. He gives you depth where you're not penalized for hits or anything against or walks. It's also a little bit of a plus. If you weren't here earlier, last time out, 12 strikeouts against the Red Sox, 9 strikeouts against the Astros the game before that, 10 strikeouts, give up 5 runs, 3 earned in the start before that against Baltimore. But monster outings. He did give up 2 home runs in the game against the Astros. He gave up a home run to the Orioles in that game. Can definitely get got for power. And if that comes when he's walked guys and there are guys on base, then it gets ugly in a hurry. But he's very playable at this price. Nothing wrong. As much as I was advocating for Will Warren and Clay Kershaw, there's nothing wrong with going Kikuchi and Clay Kershaw and going with 2 lefties. Not a bad play. Braves bats against, with all that said, very much in play. Like I said, you want to be hedging with these Braves. They're extremely affordable for all the talent upside in this lineup. I have no issue playing Matt Olson lefty-lefty against this pitcher, 52-36. Olson's got 15 home runs on much better premium contact than that output would suggest. It's not a bad total, but it ought to be over 20 and approaching 30 by now. 211 ISO, a 392 xWOBA to back that point up on this monster contact. Ronald Acuna has been the best form of himself since coming back. 9 home runs already. All these other guys better watch out, or Acuna's going to end up passing them for home runs. He's very close to most of the guys on this team already. He's ridiculous. Get Ronald Acuna into your lineups. 62.43. He's fully priced, but everybody else isn't. So it's easy enough to get him. If you just want to take the top end of these guys, I mean, that's a 4-man that includes Acuna and Olson. You're paying $48.75. So you've already averaged it down because Riley and Ozuna are at $41 and $4,000. Yes, that's a high raw price tag, but then you bolt on one of these guys and bring it down a little bit further. I'll take Sean Murphy there at 33. Now I'm at 45.60, so 4,600 a man on a slate where I can go double barrel cheap pitchers. That works. Riley, 14.2% barrel, 50.8% hard hits. Ozuna, as rough as it's been recently, and it has been rough, I'll admit that, 4,000 is very cheap for his productivity and his potential once that injury subsides. 11 home runs. I want to be early the day he comes back to life. 116 WRC plus, a 379 xWOBA still under the covers. Jurickson Profar is back in this lineup for whatever that might be worth. Got busted for PEDs. Explains a lot about the surge that we saw over the last couple seasons. I am very skeptical. This is a player I never really liked. Heart of the lineup, very affordable. You can definitely take some shots for DFS. People might not be on the ball with the Profar shares. So I would probably be more interested in him today than if he succeeds today, any other day the rest of the season. Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris, kind of underwhelming seasons out of both guys. 6 home runs apiece, a handful of stolen bases. Both guys way below average for run creation. In between them, though, Sean Murphy, one of the more appealing catcher bats at just 3,300. Monster barrels and hard hits. 11 home runs in just 190 chances this year, a 236 ISO. He's a beast lurking down toward the bottom of the lineup. As always, Nick Allen here for defense. If you're going to that Angels lineup with all the power that they're showing against Dieter Fuentes, what is about to be the corpse of Dieter Fuentes, you've got monster home run bats to choose from. Taylor Ward's got 20 on the season, a 262 ISO. He checks in at a 15.05 in the home run model today. Mike Trout, I almost made Trout the home run pick of the day at 17 and change. I do believe he's the slate leader. I had it typed out and everything, and then I saw that he was projected for pretty aggressive ownership. So I pulled it back. I made a different Angel, Mr. Joe Adell. Come on down, 3,900, 3,200. You're the home run pick of the day. Love Joe Adell, as everybody who watches this show regularly is already well aware of. 18 home runs, paying off our faith, a 255 ISO, a 391 xWOBA. Dude's been a monster. Not really stealing bases this year, if we want to nitpick, not really getting on base at an aggressive clip, but he's got that talent to add to the mix here for fantasy scoring. So we could see even the already good performances continue to climb. 15.73 in your home run model today. Trout was the home run pick from the Angels in the team-by-team picks. Couldn't resist putting him on the board at least a little bit. He's at 13 on the season, a 216 ISO in 244 plate appearances. Very much still looks like Mike Trout out there. 4,500, 3,200 is just way too cheap. For this form of Mike Trout, that is too cheap. I know he's hitting 230. I just don't care. Zach Neto's a star in the top spot. Very easy to fill shortstop with shares of Zach Neto on either side. I'll add this team stacks spectacularly well with the New York Yankees. They stack really well with any team that is infield heavy because of the configuration of 4 appealing outfielders and a really appealing shortstop. That means you can go to the other team. You can get both corners. You can get second base, catcher out of the other team. So like the Braves, this team would stack well with the Braves. You know, you want Olsen Riley on the corners, Murph at the catcher spot. Not that you don't have a good catcher in this lineup, you do, but just given all those outfielders and that high quality shortstop with a skippable first baseman, no clear-cut third base option, they're an interesting team to stack up very specifically with infield-heavy teams that have good power bats on the corners. Nolan Schanuel, he's playable. He's not a high-quality DFS first baseman, but he's also not that expensive, particularly at 39 on DK. He's just an asset for run creation. 118 WRC plus, a 364 on base, 343 xWOBA under the covers to justify it. It's just about setting the table ahead of that stretch of power. So for correlated scoring at those prices, he can definitely fit at first base. It's just about then what is he blocking in your other stack? Could you get a better first baseman in there? But very playable given the correlated scoring. Jorge Soler, monster power upside. As I said yesterday, wouldn't be surprised at all to see a surge in the second half from Soler, especially if Trout can stay healthy. If this lineup just continues to produce ahead of him, I would expect him to come around. 9.9% barrels, 40.7% hard hits, just an 81 WRC plus, 8 homers and 269 chances, a 146 ISO. None of that is like Jorge Soler of years past. Maybe it doesn't come back, but worth gambling on at these prices, or gambling on is the wrong term, worth taking considered shares of at low ownership with monster home run upside showing at these prices. Travis d'Arnaud, speaking of home run upside, 7.94 in the model, 15.9% barrels. This is what Travis d'Arnaud does. He hits baseballs hard. He is a very, very good backup catcher option when you get him in lineups. People sleep on Travis d'Arnaud all the time. He used to back up Sean Murphy in the Braves lineup. Now is the backup in this one, has 4 home runs and 134 chances, just a 153 ISO, a low end 77 WRC plus. But look at all the barrels. I'll take my chances. Like that a lot at 2,500 where you have to pay, or where you have to play the position. And honestly, at 27 on FanDuel, again, when I'm skipping first base a little bit, 3 of these outfielders plus Darno is a different way to build than 3 of them plus Neto, or obviously you can include Neto, 2 of the outfielders, et cetera, et cetera. But Darno's in play on both sides. Luis Renifo's a mix and match quality option, has been pretty bad this year, was effective last year. Christian Moore, aggressively promoted, does have 3 home runs and a 208 ISO with decent barrel rate at 8.6%. A lot of strikeouts, a handful of walks in 62 plate appearances, otherwise hasn't been great, but is not expensive at second base. So would be an interesting option. I would include him for those cheap prices. With Renifo slightly less expensive, it's debatable. I don't love him at third base. Probably take the positioning on DraftKings and take more shares of Moore over there. With them sharing second base eligibility, you can play the price and ownership game. Moore is probably the better bat in the long term, though. Braves bats. I almost did it. I couldn't do it. Yusei Kikuchi after the Braves bats. That was what I was considering. Angels bats. Actually, it's Braves bats, Angels bats, then Yusei Kikuchi, but same thing. And no Dieter Fuentes shares. I can't justify it at all. Like the bats on both sides of that one, but very much Yusei Kikuchi is in the mix. Neither of these teams have their lineups in yet. Hit the like and subscribe, by the way. If you haven't caught the thing that I believe is still scrolling across the bottom of your YouTube video here, there's a promo code going on right now over at rotoscouts.com, which is the website where all these projections live for you to access for a very small fee that got a little bit smaller this week. Typically, we're under $1 a day for a weekly, monthly, or quarterly plan. Right now, you can cut that in half on a weekly or monthly if you just plug in promo code SARCASTIC with a K in the middle instead of a C when you check out. That gets you access to all the baseball projections, the individual home run model number for every single player. You can run crunches and sort lineups via those stats. You get access to my top stat rankings, my home run picks of the day, the power index, anything else that hits that website as far as different sports we project, upcoming content, football right around the corner. There is an NFL game at the end of this month, this current month. Absurd. We'll be back on top of football before you know it. So check that out. Little promo going on. Cut your monthly fee in half, cut your weekly in half. That means that $3 and change gets you from today to next Wednesday. Somebody cashed a lineup for 270 some odd dollars yesterday on what was presumably like a $3 entry plus, let's say $3 for the week. That's a solid little profit for the first day of a plan if they had started yesterday. They didn't. Long time friend of the show, friend of the site, but you know. Speaks for itself, guys. A lot of value there. Check it out. Hit the like, hit the subscribe here on YouTube. Still trying to pump that up to 1,000. Tell your friends, or well beyond 1,000. Let's hope one day. But let's start with 1,000. Small bites. You eat the elephant one bite at a time, as they say. Tanner Bybee, Shota Imanaga. So Bybee, effective enough, capable of giving us depth. Probably good enough to roll a few shares even against a very good Cubs lineup, even when they come in at a 4.49 implied total. He's only 75. He's only 81. It's not like he's offensively priced here. 20.9% strikeouts is not where we want it, but he's got a good enough stuff plus rating. He was at 26.3% strikeouts over 173 and 2/3 last year. So we've been a little bit degraded in that mark the year before, 24.1. So there's room to grow and return back toward that kind of a form in the long term. This Cubs team is not particularly high strikeout, but there are a couple mid-20s guys around some of their key bats. So you can find successful days. A pitcher like Bybee could realistically get through this lineup. 3.80 ERA, but a 4.04 xFIP. Those are fine. 9.6% swinging, just a 28% CSW. Not ideal. Nothing here is bad. Nothing there is standout good either. 3.82% home run rate is high for kind of medium level contact allowed. Just who Bybee seems to be this year. But there is a little upside there. Imanaga at 85.78. Last time out, 5 innings, 17 hitters faced, gave up just 1 hit, struck out 3, walked 1. That was on the 26th. That was his first start back. Prior to that, last time he had pitched was May 4th. Was pitching somewhat effectively, except for 2 of his first, 9 starts. 2 of those he gave up 5 runs. Gave up 2 runs in that start on the 4th. Every other outing, he gave up either 1 or 0 over that first stretch. So a 2.54 ERA, but a 4.83 xFIP on the season. Just 18.7% strikeouts, but that comes on 11.9% swinging, just a 24.9% CSW. Last year, that was 25.1% strikeouts, just a 4% walk rate, came on 14.4% swinging, a 27.3% CSW. So you can see this disparity between swinging strikes and the CSW number is probably realistic over here with the decrease in swinging strikes. That's just reflected in the CSW. So the CSW would realistically rise back to this if he adds those swinging strikes back. There is a little clear path to upside. It's very visible where those strikeouts went, though, because he's not throwing called strikes. So if you get fewer swinging strikes along the way, what does that lead to? There's a little bit of contact available, 10.3% barrels on an extreme fly ball trajectory. Mid-grade, 3.54% home run rate so far in the small sample. They could easily be higher. Last year, 3.89 on similarly high trajectory, fairly high impact contact. That was a little bit better than what it's been in the small sample this year. Given the idea of 5 innings against a Guardians team that is gettable for strikeouts, 24.5% for this projected version of the lineup, Imanaga is at least in play. The issue is these prices are backward. 8,500 on FanDuel, I'd just be saying you can probably skip him. He's probably not going to give you the quality start. You're probably getting 5.5 and change here, maybe not enough strikeouts. If he was 78 on DraftKings, then he'd be more in the SP2 mix. At 85, by the way, at 78 on FanDuel, probably still don't want him. At 85 on DraftKings, it does become more challenging. That's an okay projection, but I'm not sure how much ceiling it realistically comes with. Needs to find his strikeouts in a hurry along the way, and that could push pitch count up, especially if a couple of these guys draw walks. The walk rate is up a little bit so far. The lack of called strikes, if he's not getting those edge swings, that's going to be a little bit rough. So I don't love where he's priced. At 78 on FanDuel, I don't think he's necessarily cheap enough for one of those days where it's like, I don't think I get a ton of strikeouts. I don't think I get a quality start. Then why are you playing him? I think he comes in around these projections and probably not much more. That said, Guardians bats against 3.61 implied total reflects the upside of Imanaga. You get David Fry, Jose Ramirez, Carlos Santana, Lane Thomas, a few righties in the mix there. Jonathan Rodriguez down lineup, a couple switch hitters. You got a lot of meh in this version of the lineup as well. There is a little bit of power. There's obviously the one superstar, 5,600, 3,600. Not a bad price for Jose Ramirez. If you just want to one-off some shares, I get into that idea. 13 home runs, 21 stolen bases, a 139 WRC plus. Maybe it's a 2-man with him and Quan. Maybe it's a 3-man. You work in a very, very affordable David Fry at the catcher spot on DraftKings. Fry hasn't done much with his 50 plate appearances so far this year, but he does have a 44% hard hit rate. Hit a handful of home runs in a hurry. Striking out last year. Striking out way too much so far this year at 42%. Not walking enough. It's not really what we would expect from him. 21.4% strikeouts, 10.7% walks last year, 26.571 the year before. Probably normalizes more toward that territory, but he's very, very cheap on DraftKings where you have to play that catcher spot. Less appealing on FanDuel, kind of more just another guy on that FanDuel slate. Carlos Santana at 38.27 is perfectly fine if you're already going Guardians, but not giving us much to make him a reason to go to the Guardians. 331 on base, right at league average for WRC via WRC plus. Just 9 home runs despite a effective mid-grade type barrel rate and hard hit rate so far this year. Low strikeout, high walk, so you do get productive days out of him. Still capable of driving the ball. Might get himself to 20 home runs with a big second half, but not going much further than that. He's just okay. Lane Thomas has upside if he can ever find his form again, but over 132 plate appearances this year. Safe to say it's 53% below average WRC plus. Hasn't found it. Ana Martinez from the right side can put effective bat on ball from time to time. Hasn't really done much with 238 plate appearances this year. 5 homers, 5 steals, a 70 WRC plus. And then Brian Rocchio mostly here for defense. Austin Hedges, not much of a catcher bat. On the Cubs side, a very interesting $4,200 Ian Happ. A dozen home runs on the season, creating runs 6% better than average, a 327 on base. Hits the ball very hard. Not quite as hard maybe as all these guys, but he's the guy who gets on base ahead of those guys. Solid walk rate against the 23.2% strikeout rate. The ISO's a little underwhelming at 160. It's typically higher with Happ. You've gotten a little dip overall in production, but that's why he's 42 on DraftKings. He's 32 on FanDuel, which makes a little bit more sense. Last year, he hit 25 home runs, stole 13 bases, had a 341 on base, a 199 ISO. You can see where he typically is. And that's on slightly better contact, but not crazy better. The year before looks a lot like this year in terms of the premium contact. That year, he had 21 home runs, 14 stolen bases, a 183 ISO. So we are underperforming the quality of contact and the quality of plate appearances he's had somewhat. I definitely want to get Ian Happ in. He is a big part of my Cubs plans when I make Cubs stacks. 61.39 for Kyle Tucker is totally affordable. 17 homers, 20 steals, a 156 WRC plus. He's just a superstar. Include him in stacks. Seiya Suzuki is very, very good. 18.6% barrel, 50.8% hard hits, 23 home runs to lead the team. And this is a hard-hitting team. He's only 5,100 for reasons I can't understand on DraftKings. 34 on FanDuel also feels a little bit underpriced. 135 WRC plus, a 288 ISO. Dude can mash. Speaking of mashing, Pete Crow Armstrong, mostly continuing to do so. Maybe falling off the pace a little bit, but still 21 home runs in the first half. Who saw that coming? 25 stolen bases. That's not me giving myself credit for seeing that coming. I did not see it coming. I said he needed to show growth. I said he had a lot of things of concern that he needed to improve upon. And he took that and ran with it from day one. Ridiculous season so far. Already a 2020 season. 21 homers, 25 steals. Absurd. Tucker's about to join him. Essentially, two guys in the first half going 2020. Nuts. Dansby at 42.28. Very affordable for a shortstop with 14 first half home runs. A 180 ISO is effective enough. Just a 101 WRC plus, but he's got more to give than what he's shown in terms of getting on base. The 298 on base is uncharacteristic. 348 xWOBA under the covers tells us that story. Michael Busch is hitting the ball extremely hard. He's got 14 home runs, a strong slash line, a 149 WRC plus that's third on the team. A 140 WRC plus out of Nico Horner, who doesn't hit the ball hard, but finds ways to contribute by getting on base, hitting for average, avoiding strikeouts almost completely at 6.9% with a 5.4% walk rate, constantly putting balls in play and making things happen. He fits into lineups at second base for a fair price. And then Matt Shaw is an effective low strikeout, medium walk rate, bat down for cheap price down the bottom of the lineup. Probably underperforming his talent so far. Not many barrels, not many hard hits, but just 221, 305, 315. Just given the solid walk rate and the lack of strikeouts, should probably be a little better. What's his I bet you he's got a low BABIP. Nah, not as low as I would have thought. 277. Actually somewhat effective. Yeah. Just not really finding the results. At least he's stolen 10 bags. I think he's playable from down there. I don't love the third base of it, but playable at a cheap price. How did it rank on this site? I forget where these guys were in the stack rankings. That's how I'm going to lay them out. Let's see. Whoa, hey, there's the Guardians way down the board. Cubs kind of from the middle-ish part of the board, the upper middle part of the board. A little bit expensive on the DK. They don't rank great for value, but mid-board home run rating as well. So Cubs bats in the middle of the board there. Followed by, I would say, affordably priced Tanner Bybee. Then probably mispriced Shota Imanaga. And then the Guardians bats. Like I said, maybe it's just a day to consider some Jose Ramirez shares or some short stacks if you're from the Cleveland area and determined to play your team. O's and the Rangers, we have both of these lineups in. So again, Eovaldi, the only concern here is what are the innings going to look like? And I don't think we're going more than 5 if we even get 5. I gave him the 5, and that's what we're projected for right now. I'm probably going to lower it. I'll make it like 4 and change. I just want to take a little bit of the top part off because he's probably projected out slightly too well because that would suggest that there's additional ceiling beyond these numbers, and I don't know how much there really is. Billy McKinney still not added to the DraftKings slate. Mid and priced on FanDuel. Billy McKinney back in our lives. How about that? Looks like he went 1 for 4 in his debut last night. Tomo Sugano, really no appeal there, even against a up and down Rangers team. There's just too much upside. There's too much talent. There's too many guys who are hitting the ball hard despite their overall lack of output, their overall lack of run scoring, their overall lack of ability to get to first base that's been on display all season long somehow. There's just too much here to really consider much Tomo Sugano. Even at 6 on DraftKings, you've got more workable pieces in the SP2 range. 4.06 ERA, a 4.63 xFIP, 13.9% strikeouts against 4.8% walks, giving up a 10.7% barrel rate, a 4.56% home run rate. Maybe it doesn't turn into a huge day for the Rangers, but a few runs are on the board and pretty easy to see. And even if they don't score runs, you're talking about some balls in play, some hits, a lack of strikeouts. It just doesn't feel good at 6,000 on DraftKings. 69 on FanDuel. I don't really see any need to go there. Come on. 5 innings, 7 earned runs against Tampa Bay his last time out. 3 2/3 against the Yanks, 3 earned runs on 7 hits, struck out 4, walked 3. That Tampa Bay game, he allowed 3 home runs, 1 apiece to the Yankees and the Angels, the 2 starts prior to that. Got to go back to June 3rd at Seattle. Had a good start. 5 strikeouts, 1 walk, gave up a solo home run, but nothing else. 5 hits over 7 innings. That's an effective DFS day. He's had 2 of those this season. 7 1/3 against the Angels. 1 run ball, 3 hits, 5 strikeouts, no walk. Has pitched into the 7th, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. 4 times into the 7th, just 1 into the 8th. Quality starts all. But 2 of those games, just 3 strikeouts and 1 strikeout. Pretty weak. At best, you're hoping to get one of those days. 7 innings of 4 hit ball, 2, 3 strikeouts. That's about it. I don't think he pays that off. Orioles bats against Eovaldi. So before Eovaldi left, he was pitching like one of the best pitchers in baseball, which he's not, but he is good. 3.80 ERA last year, a 3.47 xFIP over 170 2/3, 24% strikeout rate against the 6% walk, 13% swinging strike rate. He's always been an effective inducer of swinging strikes, 11.5% the year before, 12.4 the year before that. But he was 22% strikeouts both of those years. Again, a little uptick to 24%. And then monster first half, 13 starts, 12 starts, not counting this most recent one. Overall, including this most recent one, 26.7% strikeouts against a 4.3% walk, a 1.87 ERA against a 2.79 xFIP, a 0.87 WHIP. He's been the best version of Eovaldi we've probably ever seen. That was not on display in his return. 3 innings, faced 15 hitters, gave up 3 earned runs, 5 hits, 2 strikeouts, 2 walks. So again, if we're getting him for 4 and change, and then we're going to the Rangers bullpen here, it probably puts the Orioles more on the board than that 399 total would suggest. And they project out fairly decently against that. So I'm kind of interested in some Orioles bats here. I think you can get them really cheap. Jackson Holiday in the leadoff role, 4,000, 3,100 for a kid with 10 home runs, 9 steals, a 102 WRC plus. Not unaffordably priced. Ramon Laureano having a great season. It's going to be interesting to see what they do. Tyler O'Neill on the cusp of being reactivated for this team from the IL finally. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Laureano because he's been extremely productive. A 145 WRC plus, 341 xWOBA, 10 homers on the board and 197 chances. Really interesting at these prices. Still just 28 on FanDuel, 7.06 in the home run model. Gunnar at just 43.34. He's their most expensive bat on both sides, but that is not a high price, not for his talent. 10 homers, 10 steals, a solid slash line, 124 WRC plus. Monster hard hit rate that's an almost exact match for last year. He's just lost a few barrels along the way. They'll come back. I have nothing but faith. Still affordable Ryan O'Hearn at 42.29, having a great year with 11 home runs, a 144 WRC plus, sitting second on the team behind Laureano, and he's had more plate appearances. Gary Sanchez at just 3,000, 2,700. 5 home runs, 259, 330, 469 over just 91 plate appearances. A 58.3% hard hit, a 210 ISO. Gary is just good at hitting baseballs, guys. He hits them extremely hard. He strikes out a ton. He doesn't walk that much. He's not all that good overall in terms of reliability, in terms of hitting for average. He's not a 259 hitter. I'll tell you that right now. It's more around the Mendoza line, but he can hit for power. Against Eovaldi, it's not a great proposition. But once we clear 4 innings of Eovaldi, maybe 5, we've got upside in those last few innings for some of the power to come through. And even Eovaldi, not invulnerable to power. It was a good launch angle that he was keeping hitters to, but there are a lot of barrels right there. That's over our threshold. So is that. So you get him on a fly ball trajectory, and you can certainly drive the ball against this pitcher. Colton Cowser at 43.31. A little bit high. Well, that's a very good price for a hitter with Cowser's season from last year as far as the power goes, his premium contact numbers. It just looks a little bit high against the 232, 296, 505 of it, but 7 home runs and 108 plate appearances, 273 ISO. It's entirely justified if you look at the power numbers and the output, and that's realistic compared to what he did last year. Ramon Urias, mix and match quality player with a little bit of power upside, having a decent year for his role. 6 home runs, 264, 318, 394, right at league average by WRC+. Ced Mullins, little mix and match power and speed combo, doesn't do a whole lot else, but can get in the mix for that and create big fantasy scoring days at low ownership from down there. And then apparently Jacob Stallings is on the Orioles. He's not available on DraftKings, it looks like. Same thing with Billy McKinney on the other side. I don't think you want him all that much. 141, 215, 176 over 94 chances this year. Did hit 9 home runs and 281 opportunities last year. 114 WRC+. If he gives you this for a day, that's all right. Year before was pretty bad. Sub Mendoza, 278 on base, a 57 WRC+. You need to catch that 2024 form for a day on FanDuel at 22. Probably don't need him there. Multiple catchers available. On the Rangers side, Josh Smith at 4,200, as stated multiple times so far this season, and the numbers are already somewhat cooled off from a fairly hot start. Smith goes through those stretches, then normalizes back toward this kind of hitter. The on base is still a little bit high for him. Just a 134 ISO, 7 homers, 8 steals. This is who he is. He's fine. He's a decent enough table setter ahead of the power upside that Corey Seager gives you. Seager, a 13.34 in the home run model. He's only got 10 on the season in 235 chances, but he's really connecting with the ball. 14.7% barrels, 53.2% hard hits. Really connecting with baseballs. Marcus Semien, not so much. 7.7% barrels, weak hard hit rate, but 8 home runs, 7 steals. Kind of came on for a little while there. We're kind of floating in the middle now, but at least that 335 xWOB is in encouraging territory now. Might have a little bit more to give on the return to form with Semien over the next 300 plate appearances. Adolis Garcia, very, very real contact. 12.4% barrels, nearly a 50% hard hit. Just 10 home runs. A 276 on base is atrocious. Just a 163 ISO against this kind of contact just doesn't make sense. He had a weak year last year. He's having an even weaker one this year. Needs to get his shit together. Alejandro Osuna, Jonah Heim, Jake Berger, all mix and match quality down lineup. Berger's giving you a little bit of power output. He's put very good wood on the ball, 13.9% barrels, 50% hard hits. Another guy not really seeing the results for that kind of contact. Just 10 home runs and 249 chances, a 182 ISO and 80 WRC+. But more to give than that. And going up against this pitcher who's going to be up there soft tossing, letting them make contact, you can just see the upside. McKinney, if you get him on DraftKings, you can roll the dice here and there. Dead mid price on FanDuel. He's been an adequate hitter in spots over time. I might not have him on this board. Can we find a good Billy McKinney sample here? Nope. Wow, was that his biggest sample? Man, 276 back in 2019. Hit a dozen home runs. I guess I was remembering this year being a little bit better. The 300 plate appearances that season. 9 homers, a 73 WRC+. Obviously, there's a reason he never actually landed at the major league level, despite coming up originally years ago with a little bit of prospect pedigree. For the dead men, a few shares. He does carry a 6.64 in the home run model. He's got a little pop from the left side. It's just never been fully realized. So take your chances. Ezekiel Duran in the bottom spot at 21-23, a mix and match quality player, always has been, capable of giving you some counting stats and some DFS days. Wildly inconsistent. There's nothing really in the stat line to talk about. Does at least have a 46.5% hard hit rate over 71 plate appearances. I don't think you're going pitching here because Eovaldi is too high priced for the less than 5 innings that he's likely to give you, or 5 max that he's likely to give you. And Sugano's just not good. So then I'll go with Vegas and I'll say Rangers bats over Orioles bats, but I think the Orioles are a little bit more on the board than that Vegas total would suggest at 399. Coors Field game. This pitcher over here, we don't really need to talk about other than being a target. Sub 10% strikeout, 4.8% walk, ugly ERA, xFIP in his 14 2/3. Lefty to throw at this heavily right-handed lineup that is capable of hitting the ball very hard, but not necessarily delivering that all that frequently this season. It's been a weird year for the Astros. Their pitcher, on the other hand, very much on the board. Leads the slate, in fact. Top projected pitcher on both sites. 10-3, 9,700 compared to paying more for Jacob Misiorowski. I'm kind of intrigued. Hunter Brown comes in with a 32.1% strikeout rate, a 1.74 ERA, a 2.69 xFIP, 11.7% swinging strike rate, a sub 0.9 whip, a 0.89 whip. It's a monster. Keeps the ball down fairly effectively. 5.9% barrels, 10.3 degree average launch, limits premium contact, just a 30.6% hard hit rate against 85.4 miles an hour of exit velo. He's spectacular at this. He's very likely to keep the Rockies limited for every attribute that you'd be looking for at Coors Field here. Excellent pitcher to roster aggressively at Coors Field. He's one of the most highly owned pitchers of the day, one of the most highly owned players on the entire slate. It's entirely justified, and honestly, people might not be going to it enough. But that's also being said on a day where none of the mid-range pitchers are getting any kind of ownership, including a cheap Clayton Kershaw against the White Sox. So take it for what it's worth. Brown's going to be popular here. You can obviously go around that if you're not inclined to roster an expensive pitcher, good as he is at Coors Field. I get that, and it could be a strategy to play with him drawing that much ownership. It's justifiable to consider that as a approach to the DFS slate. It's also less justifiable or less likely to come through, but somewhat justifiable to maybe consider a couple stacks of Rockies. If you're building 150, I think you should have some. If you're building 20, 25, for like the beanball on FanDuel, maybe just one, maybe just a wild card share in there. For me, I could get out to 3. I was reluctant to say 5 out of 25. That feels aggressive. But a couple shares of Rocky stacks. This is the confirmed lineup. We have some interesting hitters in here. Nobody's is what I would call a good hitter, but there are effective power bats. There are guys who can drive the ball. There are a lot of strikeouts, not that many walks. So nothing about the 7.6% walk rate, which is very good, is going to hurt Hunter Brown here. And the 32.1% strikeout rate could go up after this game. But the Rockies might drive the ball. You've got a stretch of hitters here at over a 12% barrel rate with a couple other guys down here with very strong barrel rates. You've got good hard hit rates up and down the lineup. Again, a lot of strikeouts. Decent enough home run totals for some of these samples. 16 on the season for Hunter Goodman, who's their most expensive player at 5,300. Difficult to justify that many shares against Hunter Brown, but he would be a critical component. He's high strikeout, low walk, and more likely to give you a 0 than a score, but on the board and your lead click if you're rostering Rockies. Tyler Freeman in the leadoff spot. At that DraftKings price, I could take or leave. He's had a good 143 plate appearances. He might continue to hit for average, get on base, set the table. So from a correlated scoring perspective, if you're going Rockies and going there aggressively, certainly take some shares of Tyler Freeman. If I'm building one, does he get into my lineup ahead of like Jordan Beck, maybe some Ryan McMahon for a cheaper price, and then certainly Mickey Moniak, Michael Talia down lineup, and then Jankiel Fernandez down lineup, who's kind of interesting at a very cheap price, and people probably not going to go there. Probably not. That was the long-winded answer to, is he in the lineup ahead of those guys? Probably not. But he's interesting across a bunch of lineups, even at that 46. At 33 on FanDuel, it's kind of the same story, but that's a little bit more manageable as how that price compares to like that stretch of hitters. Jordan Beck, one of those guys with the 12+% barrel rate in 299 chances. He's got a 201 ISO. He's great. Runs 10% better than average. He's hit 10 home runs. Ryan McMahon, bad as he's been at everything else, does have a dozen home runs. Just a 174 ISO, but a very effective looking 343 xWOB under the covers that should say he's getting us back to better form than this over time. 13.1% barrels and 50+% hard hits again this season. He is very talented at what he does. It's just there's a lot of obvious flaws as well. Estrada has given you an effective 101 plate appearances, could benefit from the ballpark just by putting the ball in play like he does. Does have a little bit of ability to drive the ball. It's more situational power than anything else. 1 home run, 307 on base, just a 75 WRC plus. Not all that appealing, but cheap in the heart of the lineup at second base. That's got its place. I would rather have Kyle Farmer. Mickey Moniak at 42-31, 11 home runs. Former first overall pick, does have talent, 11.5% barrels, 44.6% hard hits. Has shown enough at the major league level to always justify shares if you're just power hunting. 246 ISO, just a 315 xWOBA, a 95 WRC plus, but very realistic ability to put premium bat on ball. It's not easy to hit home runs against Hunter Brown. He's much more likely to strike Mickey Moniak out several times and then strike Michael Talia out twice as many times as he comes up to the plate. But both those guys have very realistic power. One mistake from Hunter Brown to either of those hitters is all it really takes. Talia's got 9 home runs and otherwise atrocious slash line, but has been effective since coming back up. Ryan Ritter at the bottom of the lineup hasn't given us much, but does have some talent, has some minor league track record. And then Janquiel Fernandez, as I mentioned. Sliding into this lineup, one of their top prospects in AAA, over 271 plate appearances so far this year, slashing 284, 347, 502 with 13 home runs. Last year in 484 minor league chances across AA, most of which came at AA, just 138 of these at AAA. 12 home runs, just 1 stolen base, 50 runs, 64 ribbies, slash 262, 319, 403. Had a lower ISO that year than he did in the lower levels the year before across high A and double A mostly. Had a 221 ISO that year and came to life this year in AAA at the higher level with a 218 ISO and a very strong slash line. Still a substandard 96 WRC plus, which doesn't really jibe with the rest of his numbers, a 14% strikeout and 8.5% walk. Very solid PCL season so far for Janquiel Fernandez. At the dead min at 2,500, if I'm choosing to go to the Rockies, that guy definitely belongs in my lineup. The one issue is he's got to face Hunter Brown in his debut. It's not ideal. The Astros, I skipped over them. Hoping we get the lineup in, but we didn't. Like how I played that off like it was deliberate that I did the Rockies first. If you're going to the Astros, Eli Paredes is very playable at 48.39. Not all that high priced on DraftKings, honestly, for the quality. 17 home runs, gets on base a lot, a 211 ISO, 133 WRC plus. Just put the ball in play. I don't even care about the left field corner in Coors Field. 3,900 is a very different price than 48 on DraftKings. Take advantage on DK. Jake Myers at 44.33, very effectively priced for a guy slashing 301, 360, 390. It's the best 302 plate appearances we've seen from him, but he's been low strikeout, medium walk, extremely, extremely playable for what he does well in this ballpark. 14 stolen bases, 115 WRC plus, hits ahead of Jose Altuve. Cam Smith, who comes in cheap with a decent home run mark, 7 on the season and a solid slash line with a strong on base from him as well. Interesting bats behind him. Altuve at 52.36 is their most expensive DraftKings player, their second most expensive FanDuel player behind Isaac Paredes, and he's still very playable at those prices. This is an Astros team that is not really priced up for Coors Field, especially on DK. 13 homers on the season for Altuve, 104 WRC plus. The ISO, the xWOBA, there's a lot of ugly, but he's getting by. He normalized this season as far as the results go somehow without normalizing any of the underlying stuff. Smith getting on base effectively, 47.6% hard hits to go with it. Should push some numbers. A 350 xWOBA backs that up. Jainer Diaz at 4,300 at Coors Field. Yeah, we can play that. 10 home runs where you have to play catchers. He's very appealing. 3,300 on FanDuel. You can play him like a first baseman there. You do have Christian Walker. You absolutely want to get Walker into your lineups if you're playing the Astros today. 41, 34, 10 home runs on the season. If any series is going to bring him to life for the year, it's this one. 82 WRC plus in a crushingly disappointing season, but still making really good premium contact with numbers that could climb from where they are. Not giving up on him yet. Victor Caratini, 3,700, 3,000, 7 home runs. We've talked about him plenty this season. Capable of barreling the ball, has always hit the ball fairly hard. Finds some success with oddball home runs when he gets into the lineup. guy that people just tend to sleep on. He's low strikeout, medium walk, so you get a lot of that premium contact. Not the best as far as barreling the ball over the last 2 years, but solid mid 40% hard hit rates, both those seasons. Found more barrels so far this year, fewer hard hits overall, but 7 home runs in that stretch of plate appearances, not bad as a wild card kind of a player. Even at Coors Field, he's not going to be spectacularly highly owned. Cooper Hummel, Mauricio Dubon, mix and match players, both benefit from Coors Field. Astros bats, given them their popularity, probably at low price. Let's go Hunter Brown, even though he's popular too. Then the Astros bats, then the Rockies bats, and no Austin Gomber, not even at 42 on DraftKings. Doug Gilly asks, is Anthony Siegler any good? Batting 7th for the Brewers. I, off the top of my head, do not know. I'm going to go with no. Oh, he's a former Yankee farmhand. How about that? Didn't know the name. Tells you a lot right there. 433 plate appearances, 264 of which, oh no, excuse me, this is all in Double A last year. 433 chances in Double A last year. A weak slash line, but a good on base. 122 WRC plus is obviously good. A dozen home runs, 29 stolen bases as a 25-year-old at Double A. So far this year as a 26-year-old at Triple A, 7 home runs, 20 steals, a 142 WRC plus, a 188 ISO, low strikeout, very high walk rate. I'll give him okay. Switch hitter, 26-year-old, mostly exploiting younger hitting as a player who's too old for his bracket. All traditional scouting metrics are 40 or below, except for fielding. So fielding counts where you play DFS. Yeah, there's interesting enough numbers there. It would depend on DFS pricing. He's not going to be popular. Speaking of not popular, the Royals at a 3.05 implied total against a very, very good Logan Gilbert. I question the utility of their upside here. Even with some cheap prices, even as good as they looked yesterday, just doesn't seem like the right day to attack Logan Gilbert. Last time out, Gilbert went 5 1/3, gave up 4 earned. Start before that, 5 innings, gave up 4 earned. And the outing before that, 5 innings, gave up 2 earned to 19 Red Sox. That game, he struck out 10. Then the Cubs game, he struck out 6, 7 strikeouts against the Rangers. So the K's have been right on form. Was striking out a bunch of hitters before he hit the IL at the end of April. Went on the IL on April 25th and was out up until 3 starts ago. 3.55 ERA, but a 2.03 xFIP. You can see the ridiculous 37% strikeout rate on the season. That comes on 18.2% swinging, 32.4% CSW. Last year, similar swinging and CSW numbers resulted in a 27.4% strikeout rate. This is probably the expectation. 28 to 30, I think is fair. 37, a little bit high, but he's always been very, very good for strikeout to walk. 27.4 against 4.6 last year, 24.5 against 4.7 the year before. One of these Mariners who is just terrific on the mound. So very much on form for this team, 95, 94. If I can get him to 6 innings, which I believe I can, given the 5 1/3 against the Padres, I like the upside. That's where he's projected. He's the second most highly owned pitcher behind the one at Coors Field. You are going up against a low strikeout Royals team that has enough sequencing in it if they're not hitting for power. But I believe in Logan Gilbert's ability to find some Ks even against a low strikeout team like the Royals. Greatly prefer his side of the equation. I'll bypass some Royal shares today. It's a team I get to a lot, but today doesn't look like the day. Mariners against Noah Cameron, on the other hand, I think we can get to. 76-74 for Cameron. He's loosely in the mix. 2.79 ERA, but exposed by that 4.39 xFIP and 18.6% strikeout against just 8.8% against an 8.8% walk. Does have a decent swinging strike. Does have a very good 1.01 xFIP whip over those first 51 2/3, and has booked a lot of innings because again, his first 5 starts, he pitched into the 7th in his first 4 and 6 completed 6 innings. Quality start, 2 hitter. No runs over 6 innings in his 5th outing. After that, 5 2/3 against the Yanks, 6 earned runs, 6 strikeouts still in that game, but gave up 2 home runs, and then just hasn't really found it. Just 5 innings of shutout ball, 4 hits, 7 strikeouts, was good against the Athletics, but didn't complete that last inning of this, or didn't get out there for that last inning of the start. 5 1/3, give up 2 earned runs, struck out just 2, walked 3 against the Pods, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, 5 earned in his most recent start, 4 innings, 3 hits allowed against the Dodgers, 2 of those hits, home runs. Problematic start there. The Mariners could bend his day kind of similarly to that. There's tons and tons of power, a lot of it circling around Mr. Raleigh, but there are a lot of believable right-handed bats with some pop in this lineup. So mostly looking like a downside day for Cameron, but given how good he's been, I think a few darts are at least justifiable. What you're not really looking at most days is a big strikeout total, but that's kind of what puts it over the top for me. There are strikeouts that the Mariners could feed him a little bit today. So maybe we get up above 1 in 5, closing on like a 1 in 4 kind of a day, and we pay off a 76, a 74 from time to time. Probably more appealing on the DraftKings slate, but you do have a fairly realistic ability to get to 6 innings at least for FanDuel, so the quality starts in play. So Cameron's on the board in that value mix, and I think he is on both sides. Mariners bats, that 404 implied total kind of tells you part of that story as well. It puts the Mariners in play, but not near the top of the board, not really one of the aggressively good teams of the day. Maybe it's a day to consider some expensive Cal Raleigh one-offs, given the 33 home runs, the 13.47 in the home run model today, the ridiculous contact that he makes. Obviously, the dude is a superstar. Didn't know he was going to be this good. 184 WRC plus on the season. Just needs to keep on rolling. Somebody sent actually, this one's worth reading. Per Brian Nemhauser on Twitter, there have been only 2 catchers, Pudge Fisk and Ivan Rodriguez, in 1985 and 1999, respectively, in MLB history, who have hit 33 or more home runs, driven in 70 or more runs, and stolen 9 or more bases in a season. Ever in Major League history for a full season. You can see that Cal Raleigh's met all 3 of those thresholds in 371 plate appearances. That's bananas. He's having the best catcher season of all time so far. JP Crawford in the leadoff spot for the M's. 384 on base, creating a ton of runs with a 127 WRC plus. Handful of steals, a few home runs here and there. As a table setter, that's all you need. If he gives you a little bit more along the edges, you take the bonus. He's only 35-28. Very effective way to fill shortstop, despite a lack of maybe individual like glaring upside. He's just a productive player for correlated scoring. Julio Rodriguez has underperformed his talent in the first half, still comes away with 11 home runs, 13 steals, a 107 WRC plus, and way more to give, especially at 31 on FanDuel. 51's a little bit more expensive on DraftKings, but still very affordable for what the talent really is. Randy Arozarena at 4,200, similarly affordable, 11 homers, 15 steals, a 360 on base, 132 WRC plus, double-digit barrels, 51.9% hard hits. What's not to like about Randy Arozarena? Mitch Garver, 2,900, 2,500, a second catcher in this lineup. Obviously can't get him and Cal on DraftKings. On FanDuel, without a credible first baseman in this lineup, you can absolutely, to your heart's content, double stack those guys. First base util works for me with both those players. Mitch Garver's got a lot of power. He's only hit 4 home runs in 151 chances, only carrying a 122 ISO, but an 8.2% barrel, a 50.6% hard hit rate, a track record of hitting some home runs, 15 in 430 chances, despite a sub Mendoza 286, 341 slash line last year, 19 with a pretty good slash line in 344 chances back in 23. Dude can hit. Jorge Polanco at 37-26, second base eligibility. The production has waxed and waned a little bit, but the power is real. Still making good contact overall in the aggregate, 11 home runs on the season, down to a 183 ISO, still clinging to a 113 WRC plus, a 354 xWOB under the covers. We should see more surges. It'll be a roller coaster throughout the season, but we'll see more upside days out of Polanco. So if you're going to the Mariners against this lefty, I would definitely include some Polanco shares. Donovan Solano, at worst, a solid line drive hitter. Always has been. 2,300 on both sites. First base only on DraftKings, third and first on FanDuel. Slashing 256, 297, 349 isn't exactly overwhelming. Neither is the 274 xWOBA. 3 home runs on the board. But when we're just talking about low strikeout, low walk guys who put the ball in play effectively, that's Donovan Solano, and he costs nothing in a spot where he could drive in some of the guys that you're more keyed into in your stack. Dylan Moore, mix and match piece down lineup. Ben Williamson, same thing. no real production to speak of out of either hitter. A 96 WRC plus, over 176 chances out of more, 8 home runs, 9 steals, substandard slash line. Decent barrel rate, but a bad hard hit. He's playable, but not that appealing. If you do go to the Royals against Logan Gilbert, India's had a bad season up at the top of the lineup. Not really doing what we're paying him for here. Low strikeout, low strikeout, fairly high walk. Keeps him on base at a 326 clip, but just an 89 WRC plus. Needs to deliver on that 345 underlying xWOBA. It's really the only strong attribute right now. Cheap, correlates directly with the quality bats like Bobby Witt, Vinny Pasquantino, Michael Garcia, Sal Perez. 3,200, 2,900 for Sal, coming off of a big day with 2 doubles yesterday. Failed to hit our home run, so that typically means he's going to go out and hit one today. That would be a bit of a surprise against what Logan Gilbert typically is, but in the short sample this year, 9.6% barrels, a 4.42% home run rate allowed. Not nothing, but we're not really sniffing around this one for too much power. Sal's a priority if you go Royals, full stop. Michael Garcia is having the season of his life so far. 8 home runs, 18 stolen bases, a 367 on base, leading the team at a 135 WRC plus. Vinny totally normalized like a month and change ago, 2 months ago almost now. Dozen home runs on the board, 331 xWOBA. We should continue to see more improvement from Vinny as time goes on. Still extremely affordable on both sides. Jack Caglianone at just 27-24. Mispriced for the talent. I know it hasn't arrived at the major league level. It's a terrible spot. You don't really want to go there today, but maybe keep them in mind depending on who they're facing tomorrow or later in the week. If Caglianone stays at those kind of prices, that's a priority bat when you go to Royals at some other time this week. Major power upside. Drew Waters, John Rave, Kyle Isbell, all entirely skippable or mix and match quality at the absolute best at the bottom of the lineup. Logie Gilbert. I'm going to give it to Noah Cameron. It's a low faith, probably fairly low score. Just get me through at a mid-cheap price on both sides kind of a day. But again, for a cheap quality start right there, especially if Hunter Brown goes a little bit sideways, Mizurowski goes a little bit sideways, Logan Gilbert on the other side of this one. I think Cameron deserves to be second, even though he's not what I would call good. And then Mariners bats over Royals bats pretty clearly. It's an interesting wrinkle with the pitching in that one. 2 to go. 5:30 on your clock. 2 hours and change into the show. Obviously taking our time, meandering on through here. OMG Lowles wants all the Gilbert. I love the upside. Jake Swales locking in Hunter Brown. Nothing wrong with that play, man. Like I said, don't sweat the course field. He is easily good enough. Lone Wolf killing it. Second place in the $20 tournament this morning. Love to see it. Congrats, buddy. Let's keep on plowing through this one. Landon Roop, 68-79. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, one impact that he's definitely having here that's visible is on the Diamondbacks home run numbers in this middle column right here. Even Ketel Marte, just a 5.48 in the model. Eugenio Suarez at just 5.37. That's because Roop keeping hitters so far this year to a 1.95% home run rate over a growing sample. 16 starts, 81 and a third. Keeps launch angle down pretty effectively, 8.7 degree average launch. And on top of that, just a 35.7% hard hit rate allowed. Just 87.9 miles an hour of exit velo allowed. So noteworthy as far as limiting hard hit, inducing weak and medium contact, keeping the ball effectively in the yard. Stuff Plus doesn't really love the arsenal, but he's been effective. Not a big-time strikeout pitcher, probably still walking too many, certainly too many guys on base with that 1.44 whip. But he's gotten through. He's gotten through with some ground balls induced, get out of some innings, some tough jams, 3.43 ERA. Not a bad 4.04 xFIP on the other side of it. 9.7% swinging is not a standout number, but it's all right, especially for a ground ball guy like this. Like there's a trajectory for right-handed Framber Valdez kind of growth. Not to obviously bang the drum for one of the better guys at this, being this kind of a pitcher, but you can see some of that kind of trajectory. At 68, at 79 against a diminished version of the Diamondbacks with no Corbin Carroll, potentially with no Josh Naylor. Let's see if we have the lineup. We do not. Naylor scratched yesterday. after being announced for the original lineup. So we don't know if we're getting him, especially if you don't get him. More and more reason to consider some Landon Roop shares for a very cheap price. He's nothing more than a low-end SP2 type guy on DraftKings, especially if he doesn't find any Ks. And nothing about this Diamondbacks lineup is suggestive of that they're going to help him find strikeout today. 19.3% for this projected version. We'll see what we get, but it's not going much higher than 1 in 5. But for the money, 1 in 5 will get the job done over 5 and change innings. At 79 on FanDuel, I struggle with it a little bit more. I don't know that we get the quality start. I don't know that necessarily we find enough strikeout to really compete. 5 1/3 last time out, gave up 7 hits, just 1 unearned run, struck out 4, walked 2. Did book a quality start the outing before that against the Red Sox. 6 very good innings, 7 strikeouts, just 3 walks, 3 hits, no runs. Very solid start. A bad one over an inning and 2/3, but it was against the Dodgers. 6 earned runs, struck out 0 and walked 5. If he does that today, you're just shot in the foot immediately. You can log out and go to bed early. Go see a movie or something. Quality start over 6 against Atlanta. Quality start over 6 1/3, in which he allowed no runs on 4 hits against the Padres. 5 strikeouts in that one. Just 2 strikeouts, 2 walks in the Atlanta game, but only 3 earned runs over 6. Capable of getting to that quality start number. You got to give it to him. There are multiple instances of finishing the 6th. He's only gone beyond 6 twice. Finished the 7th once, 6 1/3 in the other one. But there's ability here for the cheap price, even here, maybe a few times, not often because you've got other more viable darts in that arrows in that quiver. What do you keep darts in? I used to keep mine in a little like foldable case. Doesn't sound as good as quiver. Merrill Kelly on the other side of this one, 9,100, 9,500, and entirely justifiable at those prices. Going up against the Giants lineup with a 22.7% strikeout rate for this projected version, similar 22.5 last year. They are capable of drawing walks, but Kelly walking just 6.6% so far this year. Sparkling 25.3% strikeout rate against that in the ratio. 3.49 ERA with a 3.28 xFIP. 11.2% swinging strikes. Has he just not been pitching on main slates and we have not talked about him like most of the season? Because this, like I said at the beginning of the show, kind of escaped my attention until I was putting numbers together today. It's a big uptick in performance given what he did last year. 4.03 ERA, 3.89 xFIP was fine, but just 21% strikeouts, 6.3% walks. He's more returned to form as far as the strikeouts here while maintaining a low walk rate that's improved upon that season, that is better than what he was this season with more strikeout. So this is probably the best stretch that we've seen Merrill Kelly. I don't want to get too excited. I don't want to sell them too hard here. The Giants' capable team, definitely some hard-hitting bats in that lineup. They've got a superstar in that lineup now, one of the best hitters in baseball, in Rafi Devers. So it's a challenging spot for Merrill Kelly. I think justifiably he would be like, the 3rd, 4th most popular guy on the slate, but worthwhile, worth taking some shots on, and cheaper than the other top-end starters. Man, do I struggle calling Merrill Kelly his top-end starter. 11.2% swinging strikes. Hasn't given up much power despite some premium contact being available. This is probably where you get burnt if he gets burnt. 9.7% barrels, 45.1% hard hits, 90.5 miles an hour on the exit velo, just resulting in 2.78% home runs. That's a little bit lucky. Stuff Plus, obviously, way deficient as far as the league average goes, but he's been getting through. He's been very, very good for it. Last time out, 7 strikeouts over 5, gave up 3 earned in that one. 7 strikeouts over 6 against Colorado at Coors. The start before that, 3 runs, only 2 of them earned. Solid start. 4 earned against the Padres over just 5 innings. Still struck out 7 in that one. 6 innings, 7 strikeouts, 7 innings, 8 strikeouts, 1 hitter against the Braves at Atlanta. Tremendous stretch of starts. It's going all the way back to an 11 strikeout game on May 18th against Colorado in Arizona. He's been really good this year. Who knew? Giants bats against, given the downside of Merrill Kelly, given the fact that probably not as good as he's been, I think we could take a little bit of a shot with some of these Giants, especially the more appealing lefties, like Rafi Devers, obviously, but also Mike Yastrzemski, maybe Jung-Hoo Lee, not so much Dom Smith, but then definitely and Elliot Ramos to round things out from the right side. There are capable bats here. We'll see what we get as far as the confirmed lineup goes. But Yaz, 42, 28, 7 home runs, 6 steals, underperforming the talent, underperforming the contact that he's making, still getting on at a 339 clip, 5 points above average by WRC plus, with more to give, walking quite a bit. Yaz is an interesting hitter for those prices to throw at a mid-board type righty. Elliot Ramos at 45, 32 has 13 home runs, just a 176 ISO, but the 344 xWOB, the 125 WRC plus, both appealing numbers. The results-based one, the 125 WRC plus, telling us, he's been effective. The 344 xWOB telling us that he might have an opportunity to be a little bit more effective in the ongoing sense. 11.3% barrels, 44.8% hard hits. Rafi Devers is Rafi Devers. You just go to him. 5,000, 3,700, cheap. 17 home runs, a 386 on base, a 221 ISO. Did a lot of damage before coming over, and he's been here for a minute now. What's he done since joining San Fran? In the 2 weeks or so that he's been a Giant, just 204, 306, 370. That's problematic. Has hit 2 home runs, 37.1% strikeouts. So still finding his footing out in San Francisco. Look, it's a big city. A lot of issues. Tough to find housing. I get it. A lot of challenges in getting traded out to another coast. He'll catch on. Every now and then we get little dips for Rafi Devers, and then he just comes roaring back to life like nobody else. So fire away with Devers shares here. Wilmer in the middle is an up and down player. He's hit 11 home runs, a solid or at least playable 102 WRC plus on the season, but he is the 244, 319, 387 guy as well, the 143 ISO. It's all very real. So just some situational home run upside out of Wilmer, but you're not paying any kind of tax for the 11 home runs he's hit so far. There's a little bit of playability there, more so than Dom Smith, in my opinion, despite the handedness thing. I'm really not a Dom Smith fan. Not much of a bat. Every now and then he can turn on one, more likely to put a ball in play than hit it over the wall. There's a reason he's never really caught on at the major league level. Willie Adames, 36, 29, 10 home runs, bad season otherwise, still making good contact as we've talked about a lot. Still have faith in the turnaround. It's just very difficult to see right now. Jung-Hoo Lee at 43, 3,000 has cooled off quite a bit since the beginning of the season. 243, 11, 393, still a 331 xWOB under the covers, just a point below average via WRC plus, and just a 10.8% strikeout rate, an 8.3% walk rate. That's a hitter I'm interested in just for the ability to put balls in play. For the 41% hard hit rate that he had last year and found some success on, this year 10 points lower. I'm a buyer at these cheap prices. Patty Bailey at 22, 24, mix and match quality catcher. Tyler Fitz, kind of similar in the infield, 27, 24. Diamondbacks bats are in play against Landon Roop. Even if he limits their power, they're a very likely team to find success against a low strikeout pitcher who walks too many. Because they walk a ton, they get on base like crazy, and they're a very good sequencing team. So this is an ideal team to throw at a pitcher like this in terms of what they do well colliding with some of his downside. Araldo Perdomo in the leadoff spot is one of those guys, 12.1% strikeouts, 12.7% walks. Ketel Marte, 15-7 and 13-3. Despite the 32% strikeout rate, Pavin Smith walks at a 14.7% clip. There are a lot of walks across those top 3 hitters. There's also power. There's also a ton of quality. Ketel Marte, just one of the best players in baseball now. Top second baseman on the board, 17 home runs on the season, a 400 on base, a 429 xWOBA. To say that it's all real and there's maybe more to come, he's absurdly good. Pavin Smith having the best stretch of his career, 259 very good plate appearances, creating runs 26% better than average, showing a little bit of power, a little bit of pop in the barrels and hard hits. Perdomo doesn't really hit the ball hard, but as a table setter for those other two, he's basically ideal up there. And the mix of just like those top 3 prices gets you to 47.67. It's not crazy to pay $4,800 a man for that 3-man. If Naylor's in the lineup, you definitely want him. He and Eugenio do nothing to bring your average down, but they don't push it up either. They're right at that average. So $4,800 a man for the top 5. That works for me against Landon Roop. Again, you're looking more at sequencing than power upside, but these guys all do that very well. Naylor's slashing 304, 359, 474. Suarez has 26 home runs, but is also having one of the better years of his career in terms of the slash line. 254, 324, 564, 357 xWOBA, 140 WRC plus. You get an underperforming but cheap Lourdes Gurriel, who does have 12 home runs on the year, 98 WRC plus could easily get over the line before we're done. Jake McCarthy, Alec Thomas, and then Jose Herrera. McCarthy and Thomas mix and match quality outfielders for price. They're both cheap. Neither guy belongs in too many Diamondback stacks, but either guy can be in a couple. And then Herrera's more a backup catcher without much of a bat. Got a few of those on this slate. Merrill Kelly. Cheapo darts of Landon Roop on DraftKings. You know what? I'm going to put him on the board on both sides. Cheapo Landon Roop, Diamondbacks bats they do have quality, and then Giants bats after that. I do think you can play all four corners. Rounding things out with the White Sox and the Dodgers. Opener follower situation for the White Sox. I got Sean Burke in there right now. The opener is named Brendan Eisert. Believe he's left-handed. 4,000 for him. You don't want him. 55 for Sean Burke. You don't want him either. 4.22 ERA, a 4.97 xFIP for Burke, a 10.5% walk rate, sub 20% strikeouts, and he's facing the Dodgers. Some situations just resolve themselves, and this is one of them. On the White Sox side, going up against Clay Kershaw at 8,000, at 8,500, given the projection, given the depth of innings that he's proven capable of pitching, I am very, very interested in what appears to be an under-owned Clay Kershaw. If everybody around the industry is saying the same things I am about Clay, I would expect that ownership to climb pretty aggressively. I think it was well under-projected, but even if it climbs aggressively, it seems like he's going to come in behind the top two guys. At these prices, that's an absolute asset. And I'll say it again on DraftKings, there is nothing wrong with taking some double barrel cheap and going Clay Kershaw, Will Warren, Clay Kershaw, Kikuchi for some upside. Clay Kershaw, Noah Cameron as a dice roll that'll be even lower owned than the rest of those guys. There are interesting cheap combinations. Even Kershaw Merrill Kelly is not crazy at 8,000, 9,100 as far as that overall price tag for those two options from near the top of the board. There's a lot of affordable ways to put together pitching on DK today. Kershaw checking in with a 3.03 ERA, a 4.07 xFIP. Look, there are obvious flaws here. He's given up some premium contact, 50.9% hard hits, 92.4 miles an hour of exit velo, most notably, but he's going up against a non-threatening nothing lineup that has a 3.33 implied total against. Last time out, Kershaw faced the Rockies at Coors Field, comparably bad team with many better bats in that lineup. The Rockies bats are more interesting, have more power than these White Sox. There's a couple base hit types in this White Sox lineup. If you blended those two teams and took the best bats from both teams, you'd still have a really shitty team, but you'd at least have 7 or 8 interesting hitters. 6 innings from Kershaw, 1 earned run on 2 hits, struck out 5 and walked 1 at Coors Field. That'll play. 4 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 home runs allowed on over 5 innings against the Nats. So 3 home runs allowed in those 11 innings, but definitely effective. Working 7 innings, the first deep start he made of the year on the 14th against the Giants. 3 hits, no runs, 5 strikeouts and a walk over 24 hitters. There is plenty of upside for Kershaw to have a better day than that against these White Sox. Not interested in White Sox bats coming back the other way. It's really a matter of just a couple base hit types. Like I said, Chase Meadroth off the top, maybe a frustrating hitter for Clay Kershaw. Maybe he walks him, avoids the strikeout, puts a ball in play, it lands for a single once or twice. Then you're relying on what? Austin Slater, Miguel Vargas, Andrew Benintendi, and a lefty. He's not good in any situation. Edgar Quero, Lennon Sosa, Michael A. As much as I like those guys for like low-owned shares here and there from time to time, not against Clay Kershaw when he's priced like this and people seem to not be going there. Sosa's got a 43.1% hard hit. Michael A. in 175 plate appearances that have been otherwise empty has a 13.8% barrel and a 48.9% hard hit. If I'm doing anything from the White Sox side, maybe I grab a one-off share of Michael A. Taylor in a few outfield spots. This is not a good lineup. There's not much appeal. Brooks Baldwin, Vinny Capra, pretty hard nose. You do have some home runs on the board, but not many. Miguel Vargas and Andrew Benintendi lead this team with 10 apiece. 179 and a 209 ISO. If you believe in any of these numbers from Andrew Benintendi, you just have not been paying attention the last few years. Major upside spot for Kershaw. Major upside spot at a 5.81 implied total for the Dodgers bats. 30 home runs, 11 stolen bases for Mr. Ohtani so far, a 4.35 xWOBA. Just creating runs 75% better than average, though. Needs to get his act together in that department. Aaron Judge running away with that contest. 50 and change points higher, to 122% better than average. Obviously, we're being a little bit facetious here. Ohtani's spectacular. You just put him in lineups, figure out how to pay for him. Everybody else in the team is, for them, very affordable. Nobody above 5,000 other than Ohtani on DraftKings is pretty spectacular going up against this combination of pitchers. This team should be absurdly highly owned. There's a path where you're just skipping Ohtani and going like that and taking the $4,700, $4,640 average on Mookie, Freddie, Will, Max, Teoscar. You work Andy Pajas into there instead of one of the $4,900, $4,800 guys and bring the price down further. Michael Conforto, who I used for this exercise yesterday, is still only $3,000. Yes, his slash line is atrocious. His 76 WRC plus is way below where we want it. What do we like? We like this. Just about the contact for $3,000. Love it. You can go Mookie, Freddie. You know what? I'm going to skip Freddie with apologies to Mr. Freeman. I want to bring the price down a little. So Mookie, Will, Max, Teoscar, and Michael Conforto gets us down to $4,260, so $4,300 a man. 4 or 5 very talented, very hard-hitting bats against Sean Burke and an opener and whatever follows them out of the bullpen in like the bottom of the second inning. Monster Dodgers opportunity. They're not expensive enough. Over here, same thing. They're not really expensive enough through the middle. You can average, you just take the straight line there. That's extremely playable. 3,300 a piece. Those guys should all be a little bit more expensive, especially against this combination of pitching. Right about the same with the 4-man Yankees from that same spot. Similar on the DraftKings side too, $4,275 for that, so you get to $4,220. So right about the same average pricing Yankees and Dodgers if you're leaving Judge and Ohtani out. Obviously, it goes up to about the same average price, but it's just much higher number if you're including those guys. Point being, there are very good stacks to be made that do skip over those high prices. Those are obviously the two most appealing bats in DFS and all of baseball, full stop. But there are ways to build with the Dodgers that are more affordable, that are quite appealing today. A down lineup stack of 3 hitters like Max Muncy, Teoscar Hernandez, and Andy Pajas is not crazy. Work Michael Conforto into that mix. If you need the infield bat, Tommy Edmonds right there. He's playable. We talked about it at the time that the numbers were going to cool in a hurry, and he's down at 242, 288, 432 on the season. Hit 10 home runs in an awful hurry and has not done much since, but he's capable, can get on base, can steal you a bag, create some runs. It's a great lineup up and down any configuration of Dodgers, easy to play today. Clay Kershaw, because of the pricing and the ownership that is projected at least at one site being way too low. And then Dodgers bats, but easily could be ranked the other way. Not that it matters. And really nothing from the White Sox for me. That rounds us out, guys. Home run pick of the day was Joe Adell, if you weren't here earlier. It's up on the website as well. The website is rotoscouts.com. Gain access for under $1 a day any given day of the year. Weekly, monthly, and quarterly plans available. Gets you access to everything that hits that website for any sport, all sports. No per sport fees, no multiple subscriptions to manage. One subscription, all access. And right now, promo code SARCASTIC. I keep almost saying the other site's name. Promo code SARCASTIC with a K in the middle where it doesn't belong gets you half off of either a weekly or monthly. Whether you're an existing subscriber, new subscriber, returning subscriber from months ago who left us, come on back. No time like the present. Grab a weekly. Costs you $3 and change to get from here to next Wednesday. See if you like it. Give it a shot, guys. That in mind, let's talk pitching one last time. Why not? I can't shut up about this baseball slate. Why should you stop listening? Hunter Brown at the top, monster option at 97, 10-3. And with Mizurowski coming in higher priced on DraftKings, super appealing. It's going to be the most popular popular player on the slate per projections, deservingly so. Logan Gilbert is right there with him. Major strikeout upside for a bit of a discount, especially on DK, especially as it compares also again to Mizurowski. Love this spot. Both sites aggressively on that Clay Kershaw if he's coming up near what the ownership projections we saw were. Merrill Kelly pitching great. Good spot, 95, 91, affordable. Mizurowski, I have questions. I love the talent, but that Mets lineup is a daunting opponent, and he is extremely expensive on DraftKings to the point where a couple runs against ruins that day. Will Warren's too cheap on DK. Take advantage. A lot of strikeout upside. Would play on FanDuel. Challenging spot for him, though, against the Blue Jays. Evaldi, this projection's probably going to come down. I think I'm going to take an inning away from him. Not going to go beyond 5. There's no ceiling on that projection, even if it stays the same. Imanaga, very playable on both sites for 5 and change innings. Cameron, maybe for a shot at a quality start. Look for 6 innings, a few runs allowed, maybe not that many strikeouts, but maybe the Mariners give him a push for Ks. That's what would put that value share really over the top, is if he finds some strikeouts from that Mariners lineup. Bybee's playable at 81.75, but less appealing than some of those other guys. Kikuchi's a total wild card as usual. Could get absolutely tattooed by these Braves at the same time. Could just continue doing what he's doing, finding some strikeouts. For 77, he's worth finding out with. 87 on FanDuel is a little bit more challenging, especially as it compares to the top of the board, but he's a little bit cheaper and probably carries more visible upside maybe than some of these guys through here, especially in short starts. Jose Barrios very much in play against the Yanks at 83-82. Could blaze a trail through the Yankees lineup. They also might hit several balls into the seats and bend the score to their will. Landon Roop is in play and probably our last playable pitcher against the Diamondbacks. You're just looking to get through at 6,800 on the ground balls, on the ability to limit home runs and hope for the best as far as the sequencing. Not going to be many strikeouts there. Probably more of a DraftKings play at 68. It's a total dart throw, but you do not have much of a bargain bin to work with today. Most of these guys are just pure off the slate. Really not interested. If I'm throwing darts, much as I said he's not in play, I think Sugano at 6 is probably your most playable guy after Landon Roop here, and that's not a good option. So it gets real thin, real fast. We got a lot of workable plays here, and again, double barrel action there. Cheap. Same deal like there. Same deal again right there. Ranking those combos, I'd probably say Kershaw Warren would be first, but then I think Kershaw Kikuchi would be second best. If you're already just taking the shot with the double cheap, then take it on the guy with probably the most upside out of that group. Not uninteresting. With that in mind, gang, we're coming up on 6 o'clock. Let me get out of here. Let me get the site updated. You guys absolutely rock. Those of you who hit the like button, you rock slightly more. Those of you who also subscribe to the channel, way more. And anybody who subscribed over at the website using promo code SARCASTIC with a K in the middle to take advantage of a 50% off promo on a weekly or monthly plan, even slightly more than everybody else. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share those results when you do. And we'll be back tomorrow for more. Later, gang.